Tulips. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Cyrus Gray. I'm the host of Election Central. In a moment, we'll begin our pre-show, and we're going to be talking a little bit about maritime and Liberia, and then some of the important issues that trending this week. I will have with me in studio also my co-host Afonso. I'd like to welcome him. Afonso, welcome. How
Thank
are
you,
you?
Cyrus.
How
Thank
was
you.
your week?
It was good. It was good. As I've said, I'm winding down on the difficult period of work, so hopefully things will fall in place pretty soon. Yeah.
Okay, man. Welcome, man. Look, today we're going to be talking about Alexander Cummings' vision for Liberia. We had actually planned to do a two-fourth with the Unity Party and ANC group today, but the Unity Party folks we're dealing with would rather us push it for another week. So today we're going to give the opportunity again to two advocates of Mr. Cummings' aspiration for the presidency. Isaac Vatuba and Francis Hine, who you met last week.
Hmm.
He's in Cancun on vacation right now. He said he's going to join us, so we'll see how that works.
How that works out. Yeah.
Yeah, with the wife sitting right close by. But we'll be looking forward to them on the hour. So for the pre-show today, there's some important things happening in the maritime sector related to Liberia. I like to normally I like to have discussion about this issue from the fringes, also the normal thing. And I thought it was a good opportunity to discuss maritime, something about maritime today. So let's start on that, right? Um, Few things happened. This last week was the 40th anniversary of the most premier institute of maritime affairs called the World Maritime University.
Hmm.
It is owned and operated by the World, the International Maritime Organization. And Liberia has had a great relations with that school. I think we've had probably 30 to 50 Liberian experts go through that maritime school.
Hmm.
Sadly, highly 5% are employed in the maritime sector, even though we have a big footprint in maritime in terms of our shipping registry
Hmm.
and all that. So there's something important happened there this week that it can teach us a lesson. But before we go to that, I wanted most Liberians here have a maritime, but they don't know what's happening in Liberia. So I took a clip from the maritime school in Marshall. So
Hmm.
let's take a quick look at what's happening there.
Hmm.
One, jump! Yes!
Well, that's pretty impressive. I don't know what kind of certification they're awarding there, but look, I just came across that video a
Hmm.
couple of days ago, and it's
Okay.
pretty impressive. They're doing good bit of safety training, and I see they have shops there. They're working with the machining and all that. While in Liberia again, I will try to check this out. The sad thing is, there are hardly any Liberians who are providing these trainings.
Hmm.
During the alien era, they transcended a little bit and took the institute from under the Maritime Authority and gave it to the ship registry. So
Uh-huh.
you can see some significant investment in there, even though I see the state got just one lifeboat instead of real boats, right? But there's something going on there. Liberians have been trained at apex level in some of the best maritime schools. I think they should be engaged. A lot of them are in Liberia and they are not higher in the sector because we have a culture where most of these jobs, which should be professional in nature, are treated as political jobs.
Hmm.
So the head of the maritime is a political position. It's on like anywhere in the world. Most places in the world, the head of maritime are maritime trained people. There are very few top-notch schools, so they happen to know each other when they go to the IMO. The permanent representative for nations at the IMO are almost all graduates of the World Maritime University or similar schools, except Liberia. There has been no Liberian permanent representative who is a graduate of the Maritime University or Maritime School. So imagine the difficulty for them to even born in that environment with the rest of the guys who have professional
Hmm.
commonality. So I thought we should talk about something that happened this week. This week, the World Maritime University celebrated its 40th anniversary, and we happen to have a Liberian, young Liberian kid, who used to be chief of staff for the managing director of the MPA in around 2009, 2010, when the APMT was being concession. I happened to meet him there, but he's now a maritime professional.
Hmm.
He stayed in Liberia forever. He couldn't get hired. He set up a forwarding business called Christopolis, and I think he's doing fairly fine. He happened to be the only Liberian who went to Sweden last week to attend these events.
Hmm. Hmm. So
That's not
do I see your photo here? Here?
that's not him.
No, I'm saying
This-
do I
yeah,
see?
so we come to me. So this the guy is young kid called Mohammed Lavely, Mohammed Koliko Lavely. I'm really impressed about him. He's worked to organize the Alumni Association, worked to get the other African chapters involved in a single unit. So he went to MIMO and they gave him a platform to speak to that global body on
Uh-huh.
maritime in Africa. And there you see him speaking. All this is completely disjointed from the Liberian Maritime Program and authorities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes to this program and he's standing there with two persons who I will talk about a little bit at the subject of this pre-show. Dr. Max Manger, who was in my class, and Dr. Cleopatra Dumboya Henry. Well, this week also, Dr. Henry turned over the reins of the university to Max as the new president. The first time that a graduate have become president of that prestigious university, and the first time a non-European have become president. So Max come from the Philippines, initially trained at the U.S. Um Maritime Academy, no, the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, I think, in Maryland.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then he went to Miami, did his maritime safety, and remained there, got his PhD, and started to teach. And eventually, the Filipinos, because they're big in maritime too, in terms of the crewmanship, they
Uh-huh.
take that niche where they train their people to work on ships for
Uh-huh.
costs that are significantly lower than Europeans.
Yeah.
So they brought him back to the Philippines and made him the head of the Filipino program to prepare him. so that they
Yeah.
can submit his name to the International Maritime Organization as the Secretary General. So 3 years ago, he's featured as this candidate for the position of Secretary General. I was one of those who supported him. Our efforts didn't work, so he didn't win because you vote there by countries. So he
Hmm.
returned to Malmo to teach, and this year now he's been made the head of the World Maritime
Of the university. Yeah.
Maritime University. Let's hear it from CNN.
Filipino professor is now at the helm of the World Maritime University, a global center of excellence for maritime and ocean education, research, and training. Professor Max Mejia is the first Filipino and Asian, mind you, to lead the esteemed university, which is based in Malmo, Sweden. Professor Mejia is joining us right now all the way from Malmo. Good morning, Professor. Glad you could join us.
Good morning, Paulo. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show.
It's a pleasure. First of all, congratulations, I think, are in order, Professor. Well done. Professor, it was earlier this year when you were announced as the new president of WMU, but you just officially assumed your post yesterday, June 29th. Did it feel any different waking up and actually being officially at the helms? How has the transition been so far, sir?
Yeah, transition was really smooth, I should say. I had a very close working relationship with my predecessor, Dr. Cleopatra Dumbia Henry. And from day one, as soon as the announcement was made in late February, she really included me in as many of the meetings as she could, involved me in a lot of her decision-making processes, and really it was very inclusive and wanted to prepare me for taking over the job, the position yesterday.
Well, now that you are officially at the helm, you know, I think each term, under each president will have its own brand, its own flavor. What would you like your term as president for WMU to be remembered as?
Yes, thanks. Well, I'm of course quite fortunate that my predecessor is leaving a university that is in a good financial situation, and the highest rates of enrollment, as well as the highest level of staffing. So I'm building on those gains and achievements. But the hallmark of my presidency, I would like to be in terms of staff welfare and well-being, gender equality, and a diversified financial resource base for the university.
Fantastic. Professor, you yourself graduated from WMU, and prior to becoming president, as you've mentioned, you've already held several positions at the university leading up to you taking the reins, including head of the PhD program and head of the maritime law and policy specialization. Here in the Philippines, you also headed the Maritime Industry Authority, or Marina, from 2013 to 2016, I understand. All of these experiences really obviously are building blocks as you take on a much broader role as the president of MWU. Are there any specific projects you mentioned how you would like your tenure to be remembered as, but are there any specific areas or projects that you want to focus on in terms of curriculum, in terms of the academic side?
Yes, I think the combination and mix of my academic studies, research, teaching, and experience, of course, draw me closer to the focus on policy, and that's really looking at how interests, problems, challenges, and opportunities rise from the public consciousness into the top levels of the political agenda. and going from there, how policy agenda items turn into policy formulation, and then implementation, and then towards the evaluation and analysis of policy, in order to then come up with lessons learned to improve policy, and then ensure that the implementation of standards, laws, and regulations are made in an optimal manner.
Right, Professor. In the context of the Philippines being recognized as one of the probably the best at providing top maritime people who work in the maritime field, seafarers, mariners, and such. How do we describe our local maritime industry now, and even more? In terms of President Bongbong Marcos saying that during the Philippine Maritime Industry Summit earlier this year, he committed to making the maritime.
Afonso, I think that reporter is also a Filipino. I think he's trying to rub it in.
Of course, absolutely. Why not? Why not, right?
But so I tell you what, Max becomes the head of the World Maritime University. The head of the IMO, the Secretary General, is also a graduate of the World Maritime University. So they've consummated. It's consummated. So the kid I talk about, the Liberian kid, there he is with Max and the departing President Henry. Here's the thing that catches my attention. As I said earlier, Liberia, in spite of her significant footprint in maritime affairs, almost makes it a policy not to employ or qualify people in the industry. Look at this. Look at what happened to Max. Max is in my class group, but he graduates. His country puts him through the ranks, literally preparing him. He was part of many others. There was a guy who was already a captain, a young guy called Francis, who was my roommate. That guy is probably the head of the Filipino Navy right now.
Yeah.
So he puts him through. They put them through all that so that they prepare them for the world stage. Then they go and sit in London with a representative from Liberia, who is not clothed with the right training. There are two jokes I will tell you. There's a guy during the interim period who was sent by Liberia to London as the head of Liberian Maritime Program. So he at an event, he goes and meet one of the heads of maritime, I think from China. And this guy from China was part of the Max class. The Liberian in that class was also the head of the Liberian students at the maritime school at the time, the late Christian Herbert. Very distinguished, highly respected amongst his classmates. In fact, his dissertation, anybody who want to know about the Liberian program should read a copy. It's one of the best works on Liberian maritime program. So this Liberian new maritime head in London, he shakes the hand of the Asian guy, and he said, "I am the permanent representative for maritime affairs." So the guy asked him, said, "Where is Christian Herbert?" And he said, "Well, I don't know who you're talking about." But it was a rhetorical question. The guy didn't. He was not trying to find out. What he was asking him, asking, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" So of late, we had a misfortune where the young kid that we are sent to the maritime to represent us by the name of Owens Brown. They went to Korea and got mixed up in something.
Okay.
Charged with rape, and they're in prison right there now, serving a 9-year term. But when he went to the maritime office in London, he called me and asked me if I could introduce him to the people at the World Maritime University, because he was hoping that, and mind you now, the head of the Liberian Maritime Program in London is almost like a stakeholder for the World Maritime University. Remember, the school is owned by the International
Maritime Programs,
So I introduced him to Max. And Max sends me an email later on that he was happy to help him, because he has asked Max if Max could avail him of some remote learning courses so he could familiarize himself with maritime affairs, which was very laudable. But think about it. Why would we be sending somebody to be the permanent representative to the IMO who doesn't know anything about maritime affairs?
with
And
no clue. Yeah.
to his credit, he's trying now
To
to learn.
learn. Yeah.
Can you
Well,
imagine? Can you imagine the people at the World Maritime University who have been producing Liberians? What they taught when the
yeah.
Liberian head of maritime in London was asking them for remote courses?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Give me some remote courses so I can learn my job. I'm
So
on
you
the
were
job
asking.
already.
So you were asking about my picture when I was young.
Mm,
I was like Max. That's Max major.
yeah.
So
When I was young, I
we
was
went to the
like,
maritime school.
yeah.
Graduated graduated. He graduated 1 year before me. Graduated with a
Okay.
Christian Herbal class. Today he's the head of the Royal Maritime Program. It's been 23 years. Guys like us have never even been offered a job at the Liberian Maritime Program,
Wow.
even though the need is there. Do
Yeah.
you see the difference?
Yeah. Do they even have a database of people who've graduated from that?
Well, at least they know who
They
the people
know.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They should know.
they
That's
know who the
really
people are, but it appears that there is an effort not to
yeah.
include them. Sadly, I mean, I don't understand the point because again, in my view, these professional positions are only viewed in terms of the remuneration that they offer rather than the capability that they bring to the country.
Yeah.
And there are no laws in Liberia that stops a government from doing that because, according to our constitution, the, all appointed positions in government you serve at the will
Yep.
and pleasure of the president.
Of the president. Yeah.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to put that out just again, just as a learning tool for us. We are in election year, so as we go into deciding who our leaders are, maybe we got to think beyond deciding who our leaders are. Maybe we got to go back to our laws, our written policies,
Mm-hmm.
see how they work for us. I mean, sadly, I'm using Max as an example, but it's a great example, Alfonso. It's a great example.
So it's not sad at all to use Max. You're not using Max sadly. This
No,
is just an example of the type of things that we can do.
yeah, and
Human capital. Human
even
capital. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. Go
Even
ahead.
at the event recognizing Max, you
Yep.
have a Liberian there
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
flew from Liberia, but
And went on his own.
he's not working with the
Yeah.
Liberian
On his own dime. So human
maritime.
capital development. That's exactly what it is, right? You
Yeah,
develop your human capital, you then promote it and put it in key positions so they can also lift the country, but lift other people,
different.
who are coming after them, spread the opportunity so other people coming after them can get involved and participate. Randolph Page just put a question in the chat. So, what is the point of training individuals and not displaying their expertise to make our country better? That's
I mean, great,
exactly
great,
that's
great, great statement.
yeah, great statement.
Exactly.
Why do you? I mean, what sense does that even make? So we have, it, and unfortunately, this kind of practice and this kind of situation permeates every sphere of our society. We train people in every place. We send people for scholarships because governments gave us scholarship, other governments, and they come back and we don't deploy them. We don't deploy them in the areas, or we don't give them the resources to implement what they learn.
There is peculiar part about this too. 90% of the Liberians who were trained at the World Maritime University were funded by international organizations.
Yes, yes.
So for example, my training was paid for by the Norwegian Technical Cooperation Committee at the
Yeah.
IMO.
Okay.
And part of the requirement for that funding is that the Liberian government
Yeah.
has to make a declaration that this Liberian once trained
Yeah.
will be employed in the area of his training
Mm-hmm.
so as to bring that value to the country and elevate the country in that sector.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as far as the start. Once they sign that paper,
Sign the
people,
paper, get the training. You even go get the training if the Norwegians don't send you full money or don't pay your
you know, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
You're not getting it. You're not
We're
getting
not,
there, you know. And that,
they don't send
I
you
mean,
full back.
The Norwegians cover all. The Germans
Hmm. Hmm.
cover significant number of Liberians. The
Yeah.
Japanese, or something
Hmm.
called the Nippon Convention of Foundation, pays for all these high quality training. I say high quality training because the counterpart of these Liberians are the
Hmm.
ones who are running the maritime and ports in their countries.
Exactly. And the world.
Counterparts.
Hmm.
Maxia, for example, the present IMO Secretary General, for example. Yet, even in London, where the IMO is, they don't see a fit to hire these Liberian professionals. And
Yeah.
Liberia is a major maritime registry. So, the agent IRI, LISCA now has offices in almost all the major capitals. There are hardly Liberians employed over there to look up for Liberia's interest. But I
Yeah.
wanted to just throw this out, just a food for thought. Get your last view on it as we prepare to go into the main show. We got 1 minute so to get ready to entertain the Cummings guys. I don't know whether they're in the back room, but very soon they will be coming in. So
Hmm.
yeah,
No, I think, in terms of my thought, I think it's significant. It's required, it's almost imperative that when you train people and spend resources to train people, there's a goal for doing that. There's a reason why you do that. That reason for training somebody is that the person would just come and bring their expertise, their training to bear to improve certain sector or certain thing. That's that's just simple, as simple as that. So it's unfortunate that we're not taking advantage of these things. And the key thing is our people don't even care. And we know that they don't care. One, because they don't even fund people to go to these programs. Again, other countries have to send us scholarships and stuff before we can even go. And so because of that, that investment and that commitment is not even there.
not there.
And that is sad. And that is sad. And as you said very quickly, yes, leadership matters. Elections matter. Who we put into office matter. Who manages these programs matter. Because that's how things happen. Nothing's going to happen just because it's written on a piece of paper. It has to be implemented by human beings, and that's great.
Okay, Vanso. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our pre-show. In a few minutes, a few short minutes, we'll be coming to all the content of our main show. We'll take a short break and be right back.
And the spirit of life calling Mamela and a voice with the fear of a child answered, I am Mamela.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cyrus Gray. I'm here with my co-host, Pansa and it's time to begin our main discussion today: the 7 pillars of Cummings' vision for Liberia. 7 pillars of Cummings' vision for Liberia. We're going to be having with us today Isaac Vatuba. He was here earlier, but I took a break. He said he has a few minutes to spare on the call. That's fine. We also are expecting Mr. Francis Heaney. Francis Heaney is a tough one because he's in Cancun right now, but he committed that he would come, so we hope that he will come because they are the ones who are going to be explaining to us the vision of Mr. Cummings so that we can have a tete-a-tete about some of the issues. There, there, there's almost as though a consensus, Alfonso, that things are not right in Liberia. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, definitely. Yes, that's a general consensus that things are not going, that Liberia is not making progress. That in fact, not only is it not making progress, it might be retrogressing.
Wow, and the big talk now is about leader. So there are two key, or not more than two. So not to downplay the others, there are at least a number of alternative opposition leaders who are putting themselves forward. One of the things I keep stressing is that I don't think we have enough discussion about how they plan to do things differently to change the condition of the
Hmm.
Liberian people. That is why I've encouraged this discussion with either the political leader or the key spokespersons, so that we can begin to directly or indirectly get these stuffs on the table at this time, so to reduce the chance of making the same mistake that we've been making. And that's the idea of this. I took before we get into some substantive discussion, I took there was a song by some Liberian kids artists made a couple of years ago, and they like everything in Liberia, it aroused attention for for a short while, and then it went away. The arts in Liberia has developed significantly now,
Hmm. Hmm.
so I took that song again because that song, the messaging in it is much stronger than most of the other songs that I just beat. They call it hip hop. So
Hmm.
let's play it. The name of the song was Pot Balling. Pot Balling. It rings a bell?
Yeah, man. I just asked me that question, man. Your pot got a ball. Is your pot
Everybody
balling?
pot. Is it every pot balling? Is it everybody pot balling, but my pot can ball?
My pot them ball.
Yeah, it was done by
I ain't even get called to put in the cup out before the pocket ball.
it was done by.
This is
Yeah, there you
another
go.
hip hop
Oh
classic.
na na na, oh na na na, oh na,
Remix,
oh
remix,
na.
remix. Explain. Come your lead. Dr. Joso. Rock the bucket. I got fresh on the wall. Aye. So, from the lead, talk to me.
Everybody pot balling, balling, my pot can ball. To end dollars, 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 you gotta fuel it up. Behold, come home, not a hustle. Papa coming home, we can buy spoons.
Everybody pop party, fucking ball. The you that you got to fat dog. You hold to the hole, out of all hustle. I'm coming home, you get my
Everybody pot boarding my pocket ball. The only time my pocket ball when it can't get it dog. The struggle keep killing me, I ain't even got dog. I got to hustle hard to buy my baby rubber dog. The economic system by a bulge and a jail rat. Poverty was growing high, so I gotta speak the fact. You think I'm talking crap? No, I'm talking rap. Just to survive, that's why my nigga doing old school. Some people say we fool, some people say we go to school. Some people still asking what they doing for the youth. The government breaking, so the youth is still jacking. No entertainment, so we making no money. I'm telling it to y'all, I ain't having no jaw. That's what I stand for. My pot can't ball.
School fee coming send for school, cause my pot not balling. Corruption in the city got me kicking some dust, cause my pot not balling. Surely say she be leaving me tonight, cause my pot not balling. Landlord say I should leave tomorrow, cause my pot not balling. Say now what I go do, say what play I go go, which kind of hustle I go hustle now. Say now what I go do, say what I go do, which kind of hustle I go hustle now. Nah, nah.
Everybody pop balling, but my pocket ball. Now everybody cutting shot, but why I can't call? the whole cover hold, that the whole hustle. Send behold, you owe me one bottle. Not everybody for the set, only call for all. I hoping call for y'all, they want divine congo all in the whole music game. Let me tell you what they think. See, they think the common people still don't know how to think they will learn. Because they all are common men get common sense. I'm a common sense, made me to be intelligent. I understand all that BB10. Oh, you barely better not get no content. When I want you as a president, too much BB talk and resort to negligent and neglected the building country, no development. So embezzlement, sending money to echo band, bidding other country dance, supporting our resources, but they importing back. We can never see no profit. Now we need a profit to come and take us from poverty to prosperity. For people crying every day.
Beat Masters exclusive. Everybody pot falling, my pot can ball. To end dollars, you gotta fuel it up. Behold, come home, not a hustle. Papa coming home, you can't trust.
Eba koba, eba follow, eba loba. Help your children through the struggle, make the hustle better. Railway and blue, I'm like a prophet on the cross. I'm bringing them the message, but no one can hear my voice. I've been downplayed, hell I be my talent, never lived there. Every message that I brought to them is sound business. I'm a power with ball, I support. Baby mama coming cheering, crying to the horse. I can't stop my hustle, I'm a real true believer. Give on the Caesar, what belong the Caesar. Now for my one for the second, mama Liberia. Don't be said that gon' get me, so you feel a garbage. Who not hoping on the Lord that my life be established. Again I try, I think about my past. As a hustler, you gotta be strong in the fix. You gotta double up, sometimes temptation come your way. Ever when my pass out the ball, as a ball, the whole LIB they gonna know what's up. What's up, they gonna know what's up.
Life's so hard, it seem a little nigga gotta hustle just to keep on a job. And they see it's only politics, but it's just some politics. They just all about getting the dollar shit. This is for my hood niggas in the G hustling, and for all my single mothers struggling and suffering. No more election, they just do a selection. That's why them niggas always using a deadly weapon. And to all my youth, them better keep your head up. Wake up in the morning, make your bed, get your break up. Even the leadership did some DRRT, but only Charles Taylor in the egg, ICC. Even the leadership did some DRRT, but only Charles Taylor in the egg, ICC.
Everybody pop body, man, back and ball. You got to fight, dog. Oh, come on, I don't want my soul. I'm back coming home, you can buy school. Everybody pop body, my fucking ball. So I still live in E, Seahawks. I said, G.O., when y'all will pass the bill, man.
When you will pass the bill. He said, what kind of hustle I will hustle now? Yeah.
And the key there, Cyrus, is the economy. The key there is jobs. The key there is opportunities. And that's the failure, just the biggest. When the people talk about economy, they talk about what's happening in the economy. They're talking whether the economy is going down or is making progress. The key indicators, one of the key primary indicators to look at is consumer spending. What is consumer spending? Consumer ability to buy goods and services. And where does that come from? Jobs. The consumer must have job. He must have money. She must have money to be able to spend. And that's the driver. That's a very key driver of economics. And that's one of the things, that's the biggest thing we're lacking. Like, people don't have jobs. Politicians think people should run to them for the 25K bag of rice and whatever, and then give people $25 or $50 to market women and go say start business. How is that even sustainable? That woman take the $25, $50 and go buy a coal or better ball. She also got to eat from that one, and and send her children to school and go to clinic when she gets sick. That's not sustainable. We needed programs, and I think that's why this young man is talking about. You can make people pot boil through programs, through ideas, through policies. And that's one of the major things we're lacking in that country. And it's sad.
Mm-hmm. You heard that? He said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What kind of hustle I will hustle now? I mean, there are no opportunities.
No opportunities. Where is he going to go also? When it's tough here and you really tough here, you can call, how to call them, a temporary agency and go do temporary work.
Temporary work, right?
And you will get job and you will get paid. Anybody who hangs on a garbage truck here will get paid and get on time and be able to pay the rent. Those opportunities don't exist. What other hustle can young people do in our country? Nowhere. Nothing. Nothing.
But the needs are there, though, Professor.
The needs are there. The needs are there.
I mean, the dirt all over the place.
Thank you.
They're look. One of the things that in the early part of these programs, we had a three guests. We were discussing electricity
Mm-hmm.
because I've always felt when Madam Sirleaf took over, I always felt one of the priorities was to bring energy,
Mm-hmm.
make energy available to the people because you will not be able to do anything big if you're going to be lifting the cost of energy by generator and fuel and all that.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, the thinking around the president, including some of the smart people there who said were energy experts, the thinking was that we need to rehabilitate the hydro dam. Guess what? Rehabilitating a dam is a long-term
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah.
But there are short-term solutions that exist here. I'll give you an example. When the Ghanaians built the Akusumo Dam on the Nkrumah,
Yeah.
they built a huge infrastructure because his idea was to provide electricity for Africa. Nkrumah was all about
Yeah. Africa.
the bigger continent. Uh, the volta that supplies the dam has limitation in terms of water.
Mm-hmm.
So when they build a dam, they cut a deal with Burkina Faso that's far enough so that they do not burden the water. I mean, by building their own dam. So
Mm-hmm.
look, we will supply you with affordable electricity
Electricity.
or the Akusumo so it negates the need for you to build your own dam. Well, down the road, all kinds of political issues arose. One of them was this support for Charles Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
When the international community decided to pressure Blaise Compaoré to stop supporting Taylor, they leveraged the cheap Ghanaian electricity that will cut the electricity to you if you don't, get in line with the rest of the international community and cut the pariah out of support. Well, eventually Blaise stopped supporting Taylor, but the Burkinabes realized that they could not rely on a foreign country
Mm-hmm.
for something as essential as electricity. I imagine now they use it as political leverage. So they decided to build their own dam on the upper Volta.
Mm-hmm.
What that did was that it reduced the supply of water coming to the Akusumo. So the Akusumo started to operate way below 15% of its capacity, has become almost a white elephant.
Mm-hmm.
So that the Ghanaians had to invest in another energy source. What did they do in the interim period? They pay for energy from there are a couple of companies that have a whole shape. It's a generator.
Mm-hmm.
Generating energy from the whole vessel. The whole vessel is just a power plant.
Mm-hmm.
And you who have a short-term need, anywhere between 1 to 5 years, that will be required for you to build a fixed infrastructure, you can tap into those kinds of capability. All those guys do, they move that ship right to your coast, your port,
Mm-hmm.
and they hand you 3 lines from there, and you pay them as you consume.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ghanaians leverage that at the fishing port in Tema. I don't know that ship is probably still there to close that gap so that they can build other capacity.
Mm-hmm.
They rely totally on that ship. Come to Liberia. The Manu River countries came together and created the Transcoast CLSG line. They said basically we'll run power grid to connect all these 4 countries.
Mm-hmm.
There are cases where some countries are low capacity in production of electricity. There are cases where some countries have excess capacity. For example, Ivory Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody plug into this. You can buy from Ivory Coast if you got low capacity until you build your local capacity because there is no substitute for electricity.
No.
The longer you wait to build the capacity, the longer your development
is delayed. Yep.
delayed.
Yep.
And we've delayed our development for all that time. Today, we are plugged into that Transco line, but we are not buying the electricity. I talked to the guys the other day. They say, according to the agreement, one I don't talk to is the country director, Jared Taylor, for Transco CLSG. The other one is the head of extension called Dele Shobayo at LEC. He's responsible for extending electricity. Then Augustus Guano, who is the head of the Electricity Regulatory Authority. So they were clear that we have a deal on the table. According to the deal, you're supposed to buy no less than 27 megawatt of power. The Ivorians will sell it to us for 11 cents per megawatt hour. I think right now LEC is still selling power more than 20 cents. So even if you just buy it from the Ivorians to pass it on to the Liberians, you can make some money.
And you buy 11 cents, and instead of selling it 20 cents, you can sell it 15 cents.
Correct. You make some money in there. But they are headstrong that they are not going to buy this electricity in the quantity that we need. They will fix it down. I was listening to Samuel Twer on a talk show the other day. He gave to the radio station answering on some of the progress of where, and he's saying that the Americans have committed to help them fix one of the turbines at my coffee. Mind you, my coffee has 4 turbines. Only one is operational.
Wow!
It takes millions to fix it. Technically, my coffee is obsolete.
Yeah.
The way they build my coffee,
yeah,
even the one turbine will only reach capacity during the rainy season, half of the year. You can't run the whole country on that kind of speculation. Now, why don't you buy power from the Transco line from Ivory Coast?
Yeah.
To substitute that, why you make a long-term solution, whether you want to go into solar or to windmill,
yeah.
or why are you restricting your options?
And Mount Coffee did not even supply the whole country, even
No way.
It did not. So except they're just focusing on providing electricity to Monrovia and not the whole country.
But even Monrovia is not. They cannot supply Monrovia.
Again, so what's the issue of relying on Mount Coffee when you have all of those other places in the country that also don't have that you could buy? Like, I'm assuming what you're talking about was the deal that happened on Mistress Salif, where now we had, Kipama's high electricity, and my understanding is that electricity was as far as River G and Grand Jiden and even Nima and all of those places. Yeah. So you have it and neglect those other places. I mean, they don't have electricity. And as you said before, finally, that's why, again, the economy is not picking up. Anybody who wants to start a business must buy their own generator and buy their own fuel every day. That's too much capital infusion.
It's astronomical. It's just not practical.
Yes. So you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to even start your business. Very few people have that.
In the developed world, like here in the United States or Europe or even in Asia, big manufacturing is the major source of employment.
Absolutely.
But this big, if you open up steel plant, for example, you will run 3 shifts and easily hire thousands of people.
Absolutely.
How do you open a steel plant when the power capacity, the power needs, the power demand that you have cannot be
it cannot be met. It cannot be addressed. So you're going to go buy, you got to find $1 million, buy a turbine, or buy your own huge generator, supply electricity. You got to buy your own equipment for the manufacturing. But the initial capital is too inhibitive, so people don't invest in these things because it's just too much. So you're right.
Also, Alfonso, they're not electricity business you're trying to get into.
No, thank you.
You're trying to get into your steel business or whatever. You just needed to pay for utility, so to keep your system running. So for you to do that now, you have to open a whole power plant, and technicians. Then it ain't worth it.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It ain't worth it. And those are the challenges that we're having, and that we're hoping. We're talking about policies, prescription from potential aspirants. What are they thinking about? Do they understand the complexities that we are dealing with? We still haven't gotten our 2 guests yet. I got a message from Cancun, from Francis. He says that there is a mandatory meeting by the hosts of the resort that he has to attend. It will take a few minutes. If he doesn't attend it, the discount that they give him, they're gonna pull it from under him. All that. So But the guys, out of Mr. Cummings' website, they had a line item that deal with vision, and he covers 7 points. So maybe we should look at these points, and while we wait for the guys, one of the first point was combating corruption. So the ANC champions the establishment of a special anti-corruption court and establishment mechanism to hold corrupt officials accountable. By tracking corruption and ending wasteful spending, Liberia will realize a more efficient and effective government, one that works for all Liberians. What would you say to that?
These are lofty ideas put on piece of paper. My approach to platforms is kind of slightly radical, if you will take it that way. I believe anybody can write a platform. Anybody can get in by and sit down and write what they will do, what a promise or a plan or an idea. But as you said before, the how is what I think we should focus on. And the how also comes with, have you done it before? What has been your position on this? What's your experience doing it? When have you expressed a commitment in the past to doing this? And when did you do it? When you or I go look for a job here, they ask for a few things. They ask for qualification. That is your training to do a certain task. Then they ask for your experience. Have you performed this before in the past? What is going to convince me that you are capable of doing it? Because you can have all the degrees, you can have all of this, but you might not have successfully done it. So the experience adds to that. Then they ask for references. They ask for references. They go to your professional references to show and to prove. That's your track record they're looking at right there. So this is great. I really like this. I've advocated, I've written a paper or two on the issue of establishing a corruption code, etc. But I'm more interested in the how and the implementation because Mr. Salif established an anti-corruption commission, a human rights commission, Leti, Liberia Institute or something to go, and monitor all of our concession agreements, etc. So it's one thing to put these institutions in place or to talk about doing it, and it's another thing to tell us the how. So this is a lofty idea, but I'm also, and that's why it's important we have these guys so we can ask them about the how, which is very important.
One of the comments will say that I'm trying to pull stuff here in the absence of these people. In your mind, what will be required? What quality of leader will be required to be able to achieve this in the Liberian context?
The quality,
The comments could say he fits the bill. He has worked in the structural system. He's
yeah,
not entangled with corruption in Liberia
yeah,
and stuff like that. Does that not count? Because everything is speculative.
that counts. So not being tangled with corruption counts. You working in a structural system counts, although to a limited extent, because you work in a structural system. Did you create the structure? Or did the structure make you stay into it? People around you say you had to do this, and if you didn't do it, what happened? Government is slightly different. So the executive is there, controlled by the president, but there are also other institutions of the government where the people are elected and you can't fire them. In a structural system, yes, you can fire people if they don't perform, correct? They also tell you this is what you do. They give you, how you call it, they give you a map for you to follow, basically. Like, this is it, this is what we're doing today, this is what we want to get to, and then you work on it. That's what the structure provides you. Government is not so structured. So that is also a challenge that you need to go beyond a work in a structured system, which is great by the way, because that's experience. When you work in a structured system, you also build structure for yourself.
You build a culture.
You build a culture, you build a structure, you build a culture. So that's great. We should give it to Mr. Cummings, definitely. But there's another piece of government that says that is not as structured. Let's take the legislature, for example, which is one of the most important arms, if not the most important arm of government. They are elected. The president can't fire them if they don't do what he wants them or she wants them to do. So, how do you work with that structure? How do you transform and change them? That requires a different type of leadership. That is the transformational, inspirational, however you call it, type of leadership of getting people to follow you and to get on board with you and to buy into your plans and ideas. That is a challenge that somebody, excuse me, coming from a structured environment faces. So here's the idea. For example, we will pass a bill to establish a corruption court. How do you convince the legislature that a corruption code is necessary? This debate has gone on for a while. I've been involved in it, so I know there are people who are saying, well, yes, establishing a corruption code is a good thing, but we already have laws on the book. We have the Anti-Corruption Commission, we have the Justice Ministry, we have criminal courts that are charged with, excuse me, prosecuting corruption, all of that. Why do we need a corruption code, for example? That is one of the whys and the hows that I wish the comics people will be answering.
But practically, the institutions that are established already, like the LACC,
Mm.
uh, can they not achieve this if they are empowered by the government, or at least a president who has the right will? Because exactly
Absolutely.
that's what they were created for.
Absolutely. You just hit you hit the nail on part of the head. That has been some of the things we've been coming up against. You have the anti-corruption commission, you have justice ministry, you have people who prosecute official crimes and all of that, prosecutors in the justice ministry. You have this. Why do we need another layer? Of course, our argument has been, yes, we need another layer, which is the corruption court, because if you put everything on the criminal court docket, then the thing is corruption cases will be delayed because you have other criminal cases on the docket as well. So let's create a specialized corruption code. Let's train people and judges and court administrators and court officials in the act of prosecuting corruption, and then let's focus that. That has been the debate. But you're right. The pushback from the other side has been, our problem is not a lack of laws and a lack of institutions. Our problem is implementation. So, so that's been the pushback, and that's where I think part of the focus. I support a corruption code 100%, because I think the way to fight corruption is twofold. One, you create the public, you create a public perception out there that you are fighting it. You put the message out there that you are fighting corruption, and establishing a special corruption code will help to accomplish that. The second thing is you need speedy trials and prosecutions, and the corruption code will do that. So I totally agree with that idea and that concept. I again, my point here is I like them to articulate how they're going to get us to that point.
Guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing the vision for his presidency. Alexander Cummings, like Alfonso had said, we had hoped that we have two of our guests, Ivar and Hina here, who are going to speak specifically to it, but we keep chiming it until they come. But if you'd like to join this discussion, you can call us. You can call, both numbers are on WhatsApp. It's a US number 832-859-8057. And the Liberian number, also WhatsApp number, is 770114427. One of the questions I was about, is there anything that is preventing the Anti-Corruption Commission from doing its job?
Yes, two key things. But the major thing is political will.
That political will from that of the president?
Yes.
So
Yes,
then Mr. Cummings could make the argument that he has the political will, that he's not entangled.
absolutely. Absolutely.
He's not entangled in the current political culture.
Yes, that he can make the argument, and I will give that some credence. But there are others who also say you're not entangled because you haven't worked in it. You can't. Alfonso Nyena cannot be entangled in maritime university issues in Sydney or wherever it is located if he has no experience and hasn't gone there and hasn't worked in that. So you haven't worked in the government, you haven't run a government, you don't know how it functions. So the argument of I haven't been entangled in it cannot really carry a lot of water because the reason is you haven't worked in it, you haven't associated with it. You cannot be entangled in something you haven't associated with.
But on that point, we got examples where for example, you have Porky Gummy, who had not worked in government before, a military guy who took over. And he has literally
Mhm.
delivered that kind of result.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And that's entirely possible with Mr. Cummings. And I'm not saying it's not possible at all. But two things here. That doesn't preclude the requirement of us questioning and saying, how you going to do it? Because not everybody is going to be Paul Kagame. Uh, yeah, there was a time Mr. Weir hadn't worked in government and uses outsider status to get in government and to even lead government. Where are we today? So yes,
We need to
again,
ask ourselves some fundamental questions.
yeah.
Listen to this guy.
All right.
Why are we where we are? Why, after 170 years, most Liberian homes don't have electricity? Most Liberian homes don't have running water. Most Liberians are unemployed. These are things we can change. These are things we should demand of ourselves and of our leaders. These are things I, as your president, will change for all of you. We, as Liberians, cannot keep doing the same things and expect different results. We cannot keep electing and selecting the same kinds of leaders with the same kinds of experiences and expect Liberia to change. We have to do many things differently, and that starts with selecting and electing new leaders who know how to create jobs, who know how to grow the economy, who will prioritize the Liberian people first before they prioritize them.
What you say to that? It will come back to the same thing.
Those are great ideas. As I said before, the reason why Liberians remain poor is we don't have jobs. There's no opportunity. There's no growth. Jobs are not being created. And as I
So we are
said,
not creating jobs.
yes. And as I said in another program, when I listened to Mr. Cummings talking about the sectors in which he will create jobs and those kinds of things, having done a little bit of economics and labor studies, I agree with him. Those are the sectors that will bring us enormous amount of jobs in that country. So I agree on that point. He talked about growing the economy. I totally agree. Part of the problem we're facing in our country is we are not expanding the pie.
Yeah.
We remain constricted in the same thing. So the way our country generates money is when the logging companies pay, when Firestone from rubber people pay, when Lebanese people pay taxes. We're not expanding, our resource generation base. So as a result, now we're raising the fees on people bringing containers into the country because that's the only way we can raise more money because we're not expanding. So when he talk about growing the economy, I totally agree with that concept. It's about growing the economy. We need to grow in the economy. part of the waywardness, part of the reason why children in the street, young Liberians in the street every day and doing zekwe and something, they don't have jobs.
It's the adult. Yeah.
They're idle. They're not occupied. And also, they cannot provide for themselves and their families. So when they go behind these politicians, then they will give them few bag cups of rice at the end of the day, not a bag of rice to take home. So it will of themselves, of itself, going to these things and making these noises is a form of job for them. But that's not employment. That's not
Yeah.
job.
And
You
that's
can't
sustainable adult.
yeah, you can't grow the economy doing that way. So exactly, I agree with those principles, and I think implementing those principles would move our country forward. Most definitely agree. I have no disagreement on that.
What are the challenges that are associated with implementing it?
Mhm. The challenges associated with implementing are multiple. Let me name a few. First of all, it's the people who will implement them. So assembling the qualified and experienced people who will implement those policies.
They use Max as an example.
Exactly. And exactly as you say, we talked about those things before. Liberia is not lacking in trained, competent, qualified, experienced professionals. We're not lacking in that. You said right there, maritime. There are a lot of people, the kid who went to the maritime university and sat with those people. We're
Yeah.
not lacking. Most things are politicized in Liberia. Because of that, we don't even have a civil service, so to speak. We have civil service organization. We're supposed to have professionals in the middle who are civil servants who are not supposed to be touched politically, but they've been touched politically every day. you know. So and then we don't do we even have a database of Liberian professionals trained in different areas that the country needs around the world? That's
Is
a
that something that the civil service agencies should do or should have?
The civil service agencies should have that. They at our various foreign um like various foreign missions should
Hmm.
have that. Should have that. So, for example, the Liberian embassy in the U.S. should have a database of Liberians, or U.S. citizens, whatever they may be, of Liberian origin in the U.S. You have a database of them. Look for their training and qualifications. You talk about Kigami earlier. Kigami did that. He came in the diaspora and identified Rwandan professionals and gave them incentives and provided opportunity incentives to come back home. Let's rebuild our country. So, so you asked about implementation. That's one place we can begin. We do have the professionals, I believe.
In doing so, we can also attract capital because some of
Thank
the
you.
professionals are capable, are
Are
financially.
capable of bringing capital on the table. Exactly. Or not from their own pocket, but they can track it. That's one way. That's one way. And they can help us to develop policies and identify areas of need and how to address those areas. So it's one place we need to begin. So when I keep insisting on the how, let's ask these politicians the how. That's one of the things that I mean. How are you going to do it?
On that
You,
particular issue, Alfonso, there's generally a negative sentiment
Mhm,
amongst people, especially in the urban area in Liberia,
mhm.
about involvement of diaspora Liberians in issues of governance.
Yeah, yeah, and that is true, but it's also sad. And the whatever law it was, the dual citizenship law that was recently passed, it's a reflection of that
Yeah,
sentiment.
that law itself technically is unconstitutional.
Technically, it's unconstitutional, or whatever, but it just reflects what they think. The people in the places who are running the country and taking the country in the dungeon, what they think about people in the diaspora. They don't care about your professionalism and what you can contribute and whatever. The fact that they even restricting to key quote unquote lucrative positions, it tells me right away they don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But these are the things that need that a progressive leadership, a progressive administration needs to tackle, you know, and say, look, we'll bring professionals to bear in moving our country forward. We will create a database of professionals in these key areas. We'll call upon them. They don't have to come to Liberia and really take jobs. They can just lend their expertise to bear. They can lend their contacts to bear. They can come and teach 2 or 3 courses somewhere and come back and live in Australia or wherever they live. But creating that database is extremely important. That's one of the hows. Um, the other how is we talk about political will. Part of political will is the leadership giving the people in those positions the free rein and the free hand to do what the statutes creating the agencies require them to do. Anti-corruption commission, for example. One of the things we pushed against with the anti-corruption commission is that the act establishing the commission did not give it the authority to undertake prosecutions on its own, and that act should be repealed so that it can undertake prosecutions on its own. What it says is that when the Anti-Corruption Commission conducts an investigation, it should then send its findings to the Justice Ministry, and then the Justice Ministry will make a decision whether to prosecute or not to prosecute. That's taking away the autonomy of that agency.
Yeah, but I understand that they've amended that law now to give them the power to prosecute.
To prosecute.
Except that in that new amendment, they're saying that they cannot put a access freeze on on the property of people who they hold in suspicion for corruption.
Who they have suspicion for, because the argument is, oh, they haven't been prosecuted. In fact, those people cannot even be removed from their offices or whatever until they're actually convicted by a court, etc., etc. What kind of nonsense is that? So if Cyrus is over there and is fleecing maritime, he should remain there until they court something and whatever.
Or maybe the idea is to expedite the prosecution, because in any case, there is also the presumption of innocence.
That is the presumption of innocence, but there's also how to call it. There's also the preponderance of evidence, which is because these people are not just coming and say, "Oh, Alfonso Nyena is corrupt." They're saying we did this investigation. Here are the findings. Here's the information. The Bureau of General Auditing did this audit. Here is what happened.
So the president should be able to act on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think you need law to bar people from that.
No.
Because that means you're undermining the good faith element of fighting corruption. And then if that guy is suspected of stealing money and is in the bank, and you say that they can't touch it, once he's under suspicion, that's a good time to move.
To take any amount of money he can take. And that is an example. Let's take the example of the 3 government officials. My understanding is that 2 of them are running for legislature.
Yeah, so, and they have been nominated by their parties.
By their parties, the ruling party at that. So, and the argument, they haven't been sent to court. Have you sent them to court? So again, that's what needs to be guided against. You can't say, the person haven't been prosecuted, but you haven't even sent the person to court. Or the judge says, well, we have 5 armed robbery cases here that were here before that corruption case. We have 5 rape cases. We have this. They're on the docket. We have to settle these cases before we get to this corruption case.
Yeah.
And then it delays the process, and that's the reason why a specialized corruption court would be in place. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I've been trying to pull some kind of a statement from Mr. Cummings. I think this is old. Let's see if it addresses this issue of corruption.
I want to share with you, my fellow Liberians, is the best predictor of future performance and future behavior is past performance.
This is not it.
Yeah.
We want to talk about corruption. So let's see.
How are we going to do these things? The first how is we want to engage Liberians differently in the transformation of our country.
That's another issue. Now, let's
We
see.
want all sections of our country to be represented in the government. We want opposition political parties to be in government because vision will help all of us make the right decisions. It will make sure that we're spread.
Let's go to the next pillar. If we see that information, we'll pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. The first one there with the issue of fighting corruption. Well, before I leave this area, I see what they clean hands. So by clean hands, it has always been stated that there's no record of Mr. Cummings being involved in any impropriety. I know someone would say the same for Boakai, except that there have been innuendos here that he was fired by Sawyer. And I think somebody came out the last time and said that there was some report from a U.S. congressman that he had complicity in some LPMC money and all that. But I don't know how why we can get that credence in the absence of any formal charge and conviction.
Mm-hmm. No, 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 no. First of all, I wouldn't look for charge. I wouldn't wait for charge and conviction. I will look instead for evidence. That's what I will look for, not charge and convict, because not everything goes to court. And as a matter of fact, whether or not we elect people is not based upon the decision of the judiciary; it's based upon public opinion. So it's a court of it's a public court. So I wouldn't wait for conviction. The thing with him being removed from LPRC, I saw a video by Sawyer.
There's LPRC.
Was it LPR? Yes, Sawyer removed him from LPRC.
Okay.
It wasn't LPMC or LPRC. I saw a video from Sawyer saying why he was removed. And Sawyer saying that man is a decent man, he's a very clean man, never corrupt. It was not an issue of corruption. Our government was being run by warring factions, and one of the warring faction leaders decided that we should remove him from LPRC for her son to go there, or else they'll pull out of the government. And so I was compelled to keep the government together to remove him. I don't know if I can find that video, but yes, that
Wow.
was the other point. The issue with LPMC and the congressman, and
And Dr. Sawyer were willing to put down the record.
it actually, I mean, I saw him speaking. It's not like somebody wrote a story. He said it.
Wow, what real,
Yeah,
man. Look, we have continents, a whole lot of things, my
I
man.
tell you.
Yeah, we've continent. I had a long drive yesterday. I had gone to
Mhm.
Dallas to Fort Worth to check on my little daughter, me and my wife, and she was sleeping. I was driving. And I started to play some of the old historical events,
Yeah.
and there's a long clip from ELWA
Okay.
that was running a broadcast on April 14,
Hmm.
uh, 1979, April 15. So there were these responses to the rights riot
Uh-huh.
and all that. Talbot speaking, the
Yeah.
Vanity Dempster, the
Okay.
police director, coming out to answer that they said he shot some people and he got shot by people. And it crossed my mind that, Alfonso, we have since 1980 or 79 been graduating. I don't know whether graduating is the best word, but we've been moving from one crisis
Yes.
where
To the next.
citizens have been aggrieved.
Yeah.
And in every instance, the leadership is talking from a perspective of more bravado that we enforce the law and order
Yes.
uh, 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 at all costs. I mean, there's a recording of Tauber who I really love, even saying that people are justified in shooting people if they try to come and take their property. It
Yeah.
seemed like it was an after statement. After he had spoken, he probably didn't know the mic was still open.
Yeah.
So we have 29 persons died in the arrest riot.
Yeah.
Whatever the cause of the riot, yeah, because his argument was that it was not justified. It was a recommendation from the minister, and Barkas then ran to it and tried to use it to topple the government. But
Yeah.
people died. 300 plus people got hurt.
Yeah.
1 year later, we get a coup d'etat. Many people get killed. People's properties get taken from them. People leave the country. And then we spend a whole 10 years of fake coup, no fake coup,
Yeah.
emanating to an election that we even brought people from Sierra Leone during the election in 1985
Yeah.
to hamstring our opposition voters, beat people up. Then November 1985 comes in, Kurumpa comes in, Kurumpa stuff failed, people get killed again, the country is cowed into submission. Then
Yeah.
in 1989, aggrieved people bring a war and it literally destroys the country. And even as we are today, there is no evidence that we ever took a minute to reconcile any of those events, to
No.
look at people who have been hurt and say, look, sorry, other than saying that, oh, it was right or it was not right, to say, look, how do we bring our country back
Mhm.
around and bring everybody towards a common purpose? That there's still so much hate and resentment.
Yep.
What I concluded while quietly driving on the highway is that we still have that recipe
We do. We
for
do.
another anarchy
Exactly.
because we have not resolved anything.
Exactly.
And democracy or elections is not the solution, because even in those processes, once we elect somebody, because of the embedded resentment, we create more resentment because some people think, oh, they just got over us this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you got a government takes over,
Yeah.
even though the government is elected by a minority of the electorate. And I say minority because I'll use we are, for example, and that
Yeah.
could apply also to Ellen.
Yeah.
We are won just over 25% of the registered voters in the first
Yeah.
round in 2017.
Yeah.
At the end of the runoff, he won just over 30% of the registered voters when he ran along with Joe Barker. And I'm saying
Mhm.
that the numbers can speak to it.
The numbers are present.
The
Yeah.
numbers are clear; they can speak to it. So you got a guy who wins 30% of those who were registered to vote, and when he takes over power, he become exclusive.
Yeah.
That he creates a government that is made out of he and his
And it's
immediate
people.
henchmen
Yeah.
with total disregard for their ability to govern.
Yeah.
And even though he does not hire competent people, he occasions the expansion of suffering and pain for the rest of the other people,
Of everybody. Of
because he
everybody.
has subjected the
Yeah.
public resources, the public goodwill that could be multiplied, managed properly for the good of everybody. He has subjected it to stagnation because of the way he's chosen to manage.
The
So
way he's governing.
in
Exactly.
that process, we are doubling down on this trend of again creating more hardship and resentment. And I
Yep.
don't think it's going to change in at the end of October, except by the blessing of God, we get elected a president, a benevolent president, who will look at every citizen as a member of the country and create opportunities for everybody to triumph.
Absolutely.
And this is a concern that we all should have as we continue this discussion. Let's move to the second.
Let me before you go, let me
Go ahead. I'll
just
push it back. Go ahead. You double down on that.
yeah, let me just very quickly talk about that point where you said our leader we haven't reconciled. Our leaders in the past had no remorse. They justify everything. There's nothing but oh, I was sorry we did it this way. That's a New York Times interview that Tauber had with a New York Times reporter. And in that interview, he said he actually ordered the troops to fire live ammunition into people to kill people, and it was justified. So, yes, there's that New York Times interview. I came across it one time. I put it on Facebook, and then something I will find it. That's again is an example. You talk about reconciliation. I was talking with somebody who worked at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 2 days ago, And he was saying, look, we made those recommendations. He says exactly the same thing. He said, our country has not reconciled. We have not done anything. He said, besides prosecution, which have unfortunately has gained or is the only thing that people are looking at, there were a number of other things that the TRC recommended that will enhance reconciliation. Go around the country, do what they did in Rwanda, have local, meetings and reconcile people. There was this situation that happened in Nimba, I mean, in Lofa, for instance, where, you know, Mandengo Muslim kids went and desecrated, the people were shrines, and then of course mosques were also desecrated. All of those things. There are recommendations in the TRC report for reconciliation among these groups of people. So groups of people, individuals, etc. And then the nation, the whole nation reconciling. The war ended. We don't have any national monument or statue or any place, park, that shows that we had this war and it shouldn't be repeated. We don't have any of them.
No.
Just to support, the point that we have not reconciled, and our leaders have always, with bravado, justified their excesses and their abuses of their people.
Yep. Yep. Which is a sad commentary.
Yeah.
So the second thing, and all these uh, content I carried on Mr. Cummings' website.
Mm-hmm.
It's alexanderbcummings.com.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good place for everybody
To go.
to go and read them and have a chance to ask the right questions, seek clarification. And I think that that even the other leaders, the other serious leaders, should also have a platform where they're laying out what is it that they're going to do to give us an opportunity to have a discourse.
Exactly.
So that we are better informed. At least we are able to inform our people too, who are less fortunate in terms of comprehending reading material, and enable them to make good judgment as we go into October. You know, the campaign. I understand from the schedule that the campaign starts in earnest in August. Even though I don't know how some of these meetings that are going on around the county, how
I did not campaign.
Yeah, right. I did not campaign. We're going to be lipsy. So this part said building a 21st century Liberia, growth and diversity of our economy, attraction of foreign investment, requires consistent and low cost power, clearer and safe drinking, clean and safe drinking water, roads and connectivity, internet, paramount to Liberia economic development. What will you say to some of this stuff?
Hey, we talk about electricity and power generation before. That's extremely, extremely important. No country, no country, no community in the world can make progress without power, without electricity, without road network, etc. Your economy will go nowhere if you don't have these things. Because not everybody who wants to open, for example, a small orange juice manufacturing plant has to find $1,000 to first invest in power generation before they do that. They don't even have that resource, so that definitely is not going to happen. So this is again another area that Liberia is it's extremely in need of. Yeah.
I mean, our airport, can you imagine? Our airport runs out of current during essential moment. I was in a Brussels airline flight approaching Monrovia one day when the pilot approaching the airport. The pilot announced that Ravas is closed. There is no current at the airport and nobody's answering the phone. So we'll try our best to get you back to Freetown with what little fuel we have.
What?
Can you imagine?
What little fuel we
Fuel we have. Can you imagine?
How you going to try? How you going to try without fuel?
And the turnarounds ahead of Freetown. In fact, we're halfway to Freetown when they call against it. Ravas feet, they're calling that, oh, they like him back on, but they landed us in Freetown. So people were returned to Brussels. But I mean, just that statement coming out of the pilot, I think the pilot were trying to rub it in under that bread, make us to sweat a little bit.
Who does that? That is exactly what the problem is.
I swear a little bit. Say you guys running an airport, you can't even turn the damn switch on, right? Pardon my word.
Oh, well, how do they turn the generator on? They turn it on when they know people come in and people call them. Like how?
Yeah, I mean, the guys schedule flights. Most times the peak hours would be anywhere between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the night when the airlines will come in. But around that time, still they don't have power, and I think they don't want to
And
say,
then
oh,
after that, they turn the
they
power
switch it off, right? They
to
switch
save
it off.
to save fuel.
That alone tells you something
Yeah,
because
that's
the airport is not only about the air side.
no.
The airport is a whole industry. Now, look, I mean, we have a problem with the very thinking. The very so how do we invest in building these new airport terminal? We did not have a power solution,
Exactly.
for the long term, and we
Yeah.
took a $50 million loan
No.
from the
Yeah.
Chinese and Ellen's administration. Now, what we got is that place for the $50 million, and the
And
Swiss.
why in that process they probably didn't even consider say, hey, we'll have a generator here that'll provide power, but let's also put some, solar panels on
Yeah,
top of
they
the
could
roof.
invest. They could
Yeah.
invest 5% of that money on
Yeah.
just a solar farm. And the airport has the land right there.
Yeah, the solar farm right near the airport. So when the generator breaks down or the generator don't have fuel in it, we
Essential,
can
the essential equipment will be
will be
working.
running and
Yeah.
operational. Because I mean the airport, as you said, is not just that planes coming to land in your
No,
place. How about the businesses in the area that or at the airport that should be operating? How
that's why
about
everything is dormant
yeah,
because that big concept thinking
yeah, it's
is
not there.
not there. Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
the other? A plane could be flying to Freetown and might be in
And
distress
an
and might
emergency.
need to
Yeah.
land at your airport.
Yeah. Nobody gonna answer that phone. You got this stress. you got some serious problem.
Oh God.
Yeah, so the needs are there again. So it require. I mean, it's good that Mr. Cummings is putting this up,
Yeah.
but it requires that you say growth and diversification of the economy, the attraction of foreign investments.
Let
What
me
are the
tell
things that
you.
attract
Let me,
foreign investment?
yeah. Let me tell you a very quick story about diversification. So I was doing my graduate program. We did this course in stuff, and in Africa, South African economy was the leading economy. And then the Nigerian economy overtook the South African economy. I don't remember exactly which year. And according to the Economist magazine, that happened because Nigeria, the Ni- Nigeria, Ni- the arts and entertainment industry in Nigeria was booming and was bringing a lot of money into Nigeria.
Mhm.
So Nigeria overtook the South African economy. Well, it didn't take long. The Nigerian economy collapsed because again, the primary of revenue for Nigeria was the oil exportation. Once the price of oil dropped on the global market, the Nigerian economy contracted.
Yeah, created that imbalance.
Yes. The South African economy, however, remained resilient. And the reason why it remained resilient took over was diversification.
Yeah.
So they in a lot of other things, not just
Service sector, tourism is big.
yes.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
yeah. Mhm.
They're big on tourism. They're big on so when the oil is not working, tourism might be working, gold might be working, diamond might be working, other things might be working.
Well,
Power,
right there, UAE, Dubai, you're talking about,
yeah,
it was built on oil money, but they've
yeah,
moved beyond that. They've made themselves a major trading hub,
yep,
a major logistics center.
yep,
All the major
yeah,
global companies,
yeah,
international humanitarian companies, have their regional warehouses
yep,
in Dubai.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
they've
yeah.
created the
So,
right condition,
so
business friendly
yep,
environment.
yep. Diversification is extremely key. I'm looking for some data here. I wrote it down somewhere. Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone economy in terms of manufacturing. I wrote something down. I may look for it. But the Sierra Leone economy, when it progressed, one of the reasons it progressed was manufacturing. manufacturing in Sierra Leone, I'll find the numbers and I'll tell you. Manufacturing in Sierra Leone went up significantly.
Hmm.
Yes, and that's
What are some
how.
of the things they're producing, you think?
So I did not look into exactly what they were producing, but looking at their economy and looking at hours and what their productive sector is, I think they were just focusing on basic things like consumables such as just having electricity and therefore the capacity to produce orange juice, to produce, you know, we have almond in Liberia. A colleague of mine was telling me the other day the kids get the almond and they put it on a stick and they go around and sell it.
Yeah, they're going around selling at the junctions. Yeah, I see that.
That is not, how is that even sustainable and doable? But
But
if
that, I
you,
mean, that, but again, that's the thinking, and that's all
yeah,
they have to work with. There's
yeah,
no, there are no people at the level of value, of creating
yeah,
value
yeah.
chains and making policies.
So
Look,
so
you know the juice food,
yeah,
something that have this five in the pack.
yeah,
They sell that too to the junction in Liberia.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never asked the guys how much for one, but I mean, can you imagine the man opening a pack of even the shifted ramifications, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, even the armor that is juking on the broomstick,
Yeah,
they we just sustain ourselves in that low state of
yeah,
I don't want to call it productivity, but low state of existence, more or less. And we have many natural advantages. We have many natural advantages. We import to Liberia fish.
yep, yeah,
When we have 70,000 nautical miles of ocean.
yep.
By
Man,
1979,
yeah,
one of our companies
yep,
was bringing a net profit of $49 million selling Liberian fish in supermarkets in London, in New York, in
yep,
Paris.
yep.
The
So
same fish is
yeah,
still over there.
yeah. Instead, they ain't gonna know it.
And we are
The
importing fish.
rice. The somebody was talking. I saw an interview with the president of Liberia today, where he said people said there was rice shortage. It was an old interview, and so no, there's no rice shortage. The 2 months ago, I went to the Freeport and asked the people who can bring in the rice, and they said there was no rice shortage. But since you asked me that question, I will go to the Freeport again and ask them. And my question is, really? Is that where you should be
How you
going?
get his policy? How you get?
Is that the policy?
No,
If we
I
can
think he probably overlooking the minister agriculture,
yeah.
minister of commerce.
so
But then
so
again, that's a structural problem
yeah,
that yeah,
Sierra
again,
Leone,
in the end, he doesn't understand as a president those
yeah,
kinds
yeah.
of nitty gritty, and we got some issues. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
in terms of manufacturing, you said whatever they do canning canning of foods. And that's what I was talking about.
Good.
Yeah, the canned food. So that's preservation added. That's longevity when you preserve it. Look, and so they do cement production. The brewers, they do, as I said, the little stuff like orange juice and all of those things. So again, they add, that's value added, correct? So with the
Mhm.
value added, you're not just taking the orange and you're producing, orange juice. So you're hiring people and all of that, and that's contributing. And then you're collecting taxes from those people you're hiring. The
Yeah,
companies that are producing the orange juice are also paying taxes. So you're increasing, the resources uh, out to the country. But
I think packaging as a whole is a big opportunity for Liberia because there are people
yes,
who, but you're just talking about the armor kits.
yeah,
If we got armor in uh, value quantity,
yeah,
we need to think on how do we package them in a way that they are marketable. They can also
okay,
be on the supermarket shelves.
yeah,
If
yeah,
they're enough, we can export them to foreign markets. You talk about canning.
mm-hmm,
Canning is one of the big value added that is
yeah,
in the fishing industry.
mm-hmm, okay.
So think about siding, my man. Come on.
Sardines, yeah,
They make millions out of siding. I mean, I hear the siding company, it's not red siding cup. For you to get that siding coming from the manufacturer in another, I think in Nigeria, Morocco, you got to make order more than 1 year ahead of time.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
High demand. But we have all those siding fish in our waters too.
yeah, exactly.
We have it in our waters.
But we let the people come, catch the fish, carry and can it, and then bring it
And then
back to
bring it
us.
back to us, and I will pay $100 for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like plantain chips. The plantain chips in America, where does it come from? Mexico and all of these places around. We have a lot of plantain in Liberia.
I'm
We
from Mexico.
just package it in a little pack and you can chip and sell it and make a lot of money. But
Yeah, again, look, we still got a little bit of time, so we expect Ava to come in, or Francis, as soon as they can. But if you like to chime in these discussions, if you're in the States, you can call us on that 832 number. You can also use that number for WhatsApp. You can call us from anywhere on the 231 number on WhatsApp, and join in the discussion. I mean, this is a toxic discussion, right, Francois?
yeah, yeah.
So again, it would have been good to have. Over time, we'll do that. We'll have Mr. Cummings and his team tell
Hmm.
us a little bit
Hmm.
more about the how. And we can be a little pointing about these industries, for example, the fishing industry, which is still a big opportunity.
Hmm.
We gotta begin to think beyond rent.
Yeah.
Well, we just give IO mind to some people. We don't even have any seismic data. They go there to figure out what's there or what's not there, and then
Hmm.
they pay us fee based on how much
Yeah. And that is that
they
what they say they got and what they didn't get. We don't
yeah.
even know what they got there.
We need to think beyond that. We need to think on the fisheries, especially. I mean, look, we can put a fishing port to even river says midway in the country.
Hmm.
We can put a fishing port to rival sports and allow
Yep.
for vessels
Yep.
that are fishing our waters that we have license to come and process that fish in Liberia. And just the fish processing plant will create thousands of jobs, good,
Yeah. Yeah.
high value jobs. So let's move to the next in the pillow of the 7 vision points for Mr. Cummings. And these points are on Mr. Cummings' website. It's alexandercummings.com. It would be good to avail yourself of the information so that you can be able to get an assessment of the quality of candidates that will come in. Same for just Joseph Barker. Same for George Weah website. I hope I can find that, so we can be able to, other than Samuel Tour coming and just explaining himself away on the radio station forever monotonously. So the next part of the vision on the website is creating jobs and revitalizing the economy. I thought we touched on this already, Franco. Okay, so for Liberia to drive a vibrant and growing middle class and economic empowerment of the Liberian people is critical. The development, management, and value add of Liberia's agriculture sector and natural resource require collaboration with global partners to stimulate trade. Well, uh, there you go. Okay. You see that this is similar to the last, but there's a lot more here to the development, management, value out of Liberia agriculture sector and natural resource require collaboration with global partners to stimulate trade. Collaborating with global partners. Let's talk about that. I get a sense that Cummings is most suited for that.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, having been an officer in an American corporation, Cummings, the Cummings name is well known in
Hmm.
both government and business circles globally. And from my own experience, my man, a lot of times people do business with you because they know you,
Hmm.
and not necessarily because you you are an ideal location
Hmm.
for them. And they will be anxious to,
Hmm.
you would think, to support uh,
Hmm.
uh, somebody like Cummings.
Absolutely. That's interpersonal connection. That's very, very important. So in addition to that point you make, which is absolutely true, people will do business with you because they know you. You will also be able to find the people to do business with because you know them and
Yeah,
you know where
correct.
to go and find them. So
Yeah.
that's also important. If you're if your sector of experience is in a certain field, you know the people in that field, as we were talking about,
Yeah, about maritime.
maritime and stuff. So you know who to call, you know who to go to. Um,
You have a soft spot with them already.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So they're willing to bring resources and put them there to help you to succeed because again of that interpersonal relationship. So yes, I agree that that is an asset.
Well, the same was said about President Weah in
Mhm.
2017.
Yeah.
And from this context, I got close friends who were very close to him. In fact, the night of the elections, December 2017, the runoff.
Hmm.
So we had sat down at one of our buddy place and listened to the numbers coming in from the radio. And at some
Hmm.
point at 9 o'clock, we already had a
No.
sense that
Hmm. Hmm.
President we had won. So we're leaving, going home. One of my men, I gave him a car. I gave him a lift because he didn't bring his car and work in the same direction. And he gets a call. Close to where he told me, say, look, my many guys want me to go to Manning House. You okay with that? I mean, I was in the slippers, khaki pants, and t-shirt.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Can I go like this? He said, well, come on, let's go. So we went there. Went through some informality to the gate. They didn't want us to go in, even though they knew the guy, but they said, oh, the order changed. The man come to be president now. And uh, we had to get support from inside. And then we
Hmm.
walk in,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he introduced me to the president-elect. But they were still at the table, still
Hmm.
listening to the radio and crunching,
Hmm.
crunching the number of
The
probably
numbers.
people were happening. But before we got there, where we were having these discussions. How does this guy bring value to Liberia? And somebody argued that Weir has been in Europe playing
Hmm.
football
Hmm.
and was a very new name, that everybody knows Weir
Hmm.
even till today. I mean, I teach at school and somebody trying to say you from Liberia and it was asked for Weir even to today. The case they were making was that Weir's last major contract was with AC Milan.
Hmm.
It is at AC Milan he won the Ballon d'Or,
Hmm.
Player of the Year, and all that in 1995. And the owner of AC Milan was also Prime Minister of Italy, Silvio Berlusconi.
Hmm.
We are being one of his most valuable player on that squad. Obviously, he knew we are personally.
Hmm.
So the thinking was that this billionaire media magnate Scooby Berlusconi, if we are wins, man, I mean, he
Hmm.
can only do good for Liberia.
Hmm.
That never happened.
It, uh, yeah. If I were in that conversation, I would have told them it wasn't going to happen because
I
those,
saw.
yeah, those things. I'm sure you said that, but those things don't just happen. Again, we talk about education, we talk experience, we talk about sector, and all of those things. So that has come up before. International contact is very important. It is interpersonal relationships are critical on the international stage. But they are not determinative. They're not a determinative factor. And that's one thing we need to understand. So let's go back to what, Mr. Weir. Mr. Weir played soccer. He played for AC Milan. So somehow AC Milan owner was going to invest in Liberia or bring money to Liberia and dump it. Just
Well,
dump
at least he had
it.
access to such a
Yeah.
man to make a case to him.
Yes, exactly my point. What case was he going to make? What was the case that he was capable of making that he had made before? So that's what we need to look at.
So
So
maybe Scooby Berlusconi knew our man more than we knew him,
thank you.
and said,
So
"God damn it, if he was
yeah.
serious."
So the last conversation we had was the people will know you, and you also know who to go to ask. But
Yeah.
you first have to know what you're going to ask for, right? You have to even be interested in going to ask them in the first place. So that's one key factor that we needed to take into consideration. And unfortunately, the Liberian voters and the Liberian people who were pushing we are, and I think we are just said it
It's a
earlier.
no. Alfonso is a no-brainer. You would think
Yeah,
after all that Weah did for Scooby Berlusconi,
yeah.
he will have that resource at his disposal. I don't, except Silvio Berlusconi was convinced that didn't bring enough value to the
But
table in terms of
but we
president.
have played when we have played for Silvio Berlusconi and won those awards. What did the Liberian people know that he asked Silvio Berlusconi for and got for Liberia? That's what we're talking about track record, correct?
All right.
What did he bring to Liberia while he was still playing for Silvio Berlusconi? And Silvio Berlusconi was relying upon him at that time to get to where
To
he
get to
wanted.
Milan to win. Yeah.
What did we get from Silvio Berlusconi that benefited Liberia? That is where you begin to look at people. That what did people say? They say when the Christmas will be good, you can know from the
You
eve.
know from the Eve, huh?
Yeah,
So where you keeping everything for the Christmas?
because on the eve of Christmas, you can see the old man and start
Oh, you can see
preparing.
the preparation, right? Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, they start the preparation.
I always misunderstood that though. I
Yeah,
thought they were saying on the eve, things for example, you eat good on the eve, so Christmas is good.
no,
But now I
no.
get that. So you
That,
will see you see the operation getting into motion.
they were getting the chicken. You will see them cleaning the chicken, they preparing the fish overnight, all of that. Then you
I
know that
got you.
Christmas will be good.
We will be breaking the crate and thing, putting it in the freezer. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. It's a Christmas will be
The,
good,
the
right?
the day before the eve, no rubber in the hut. Yeah, it's sardine. On the eve, the sardine said not there, the rice not there. What made you think Christmas supposed to be this? Everything is everything.
Yeah, so that really brings out
Yeah,
that track record, that
yeah.
capability to
Track
connect with
record and
the
capability are important. The other point I want to make is this on this issue is that you can have other international connections and support. What these people want when they bring their money, they also
they
sell
want to make
business
money.
is businessmen. When they bring their money, they want something back. They want to add something. When international people bring their money, they want something back. They want good governance. They want those things. If you're not implementing those things, I don't care how you're friends with them. They're not coming to put their money in there. Silvio Berlusconi learned very quickly, apparently, that this was a corrupt society that you cannot invest your money in. That if you go to invest money or do whatever, they will ask you to bribe everybody in the place before you start your own business and stuff. So
Wow.
you might know Silvio Berlusconi. Silvio Berlusconi might be interested in investing, but Silvio Berlusconi might not be willing to come and bring money and bribe everybody and spend $1 million bribing people before he start his $5 million, $2 million business. He might not want to do it. There are also laws in Silvio Berlusconi's country that will hold him accountable if he did that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So we have Mr. Cummings is putting this that as some of the things he would do. I will go back to try to find one of the clips and see if we hit that one that actually
Mhm.
deals with this.
We want all sections of our country to be represented in the government. We want opposition political parties to be.
This is not it.
Mhm.
This is not it. I want to hear how you can bring us some value. So let's sit through here.
How are we going to do these things? The first how is we want to engage Liberians differently in the transformation of our country. We call this hearts and minds. How do we get all Liberians to participate in the changes that are required? We're going to use arts and music and culture and reconciliation and religion. All of these things, we will be deliberate in using these things to engage us as a people in this transformation process.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I think there is a bullet point on that in here. Let me find that since here you go. Say engaging the hearts and minds of Liberians. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things he talk about in this that really touches me is the arts. What did he say? Arts and whatever market. and that's really, really important. Go to arts and entertainment or whatever he said.
Hmm.
Go to California and go to where the arts industry is based. Go to Nevada and go to where the gaming industry is based. And as I said before, I believe it was 2007 or 2017, whatever the year was, I don't remember. When the Nigerian economy, for even though for a brief period, leapfrogged the South African economy, it was because of the arts and culture.
Arts, but it's still a giant part of the
It's
Nigerian
still a
economy. I mean,
major,
Nollywood and then Nigerian music.
exactly. So it still is a major sector today. So again, that's one of the ways you expand the economy. That's one of the ways you empower the people and make the economy strong and create a middle class. So it's critical. Unfortunately, arts and culture and tourism in Liberia have not been prioritized as much as they should be, and
Do
that
you
is
think? Do you think there was opportunity missed on Aware, considering
yes,
his career and occupation were around arts?
absolutely. That's a major significant opportunity missed, especially on we are given
I
his
mean, a singer.
yeah,
He's a
yeah,
sports
yeah.
icon.
So I was reading um I followed soccer a little bit. So um how they call it? Nwanko Kanu. Nwanko Kanu was a young man when he joined the Nigerian national team. But Kanu was this brilliant young man, 18, 19, 20-year old. He got contract playing in Europe, but he had a heart condition.
Yeah, yeah,
You remember? So
yeah.
he will fall off on the soccer pitch while playing. That forced him to quit soccer at an early age. Kanu went back to Nigeria and established the Kanu Heart Foundation that generates millions of dollars every year. And he hosts exhibition games. And professionals from around the world who played in Euro with him go to Nigeria.
Using his fame, his celebrity. To
Thank you.
yes. Hmm.
Yes. And they play these exhibition games, they play tournaments in Nigeria, they raise resources. And by that, they support the Heart Foundation to build major hospitals in Nigeria to treat people with heart conditions and to prevent heart conditions in Nigeria, etc. I haven't seen a single game, exhibition game, played by people who play with our
No,
president.
we are. I mean, maybe for the fun, but we are. I was in Liberia. He invited JJ Austin, Kocha, in
Mm,
Manuel Amuniki, and
okay. All right.
Adebayo, and some
All right.
players to
Yeah.
open the playing pitch there at the FE.
Okay. Oh, the one I was just open recently. But
Yeah,
yes, in terms of the point I'm making is
he doesn't commercialize it
Exactly, when Kano does it, he's raising funds, but
in
more than
monetize.
that, he's monetizing it, and not just monetizing it, he's he's helping people. They're building hospitals, they're bringing equipment, they're buying stuff to help people and to prevent heart diseases, but also to treat people with heart diseases. That's what the Kano Heart Foundation does. That's that's not just coming to play a game and go back. Then you look at the tourism aspect of it. Yes, Mr. Wiakwa invested in tourism. I remember when they were talking about building Bali Island and opening it up and building a new Monrovia there. And I said, guys, no, I don't think that's the right value for that thing. Can we dredge that river over there?
And
Dredge
use
that
it for
river.
transport. Yeah,
Just dredge that river. Put
and
some
put waterfront properties there.
put waterfront property there. Let
Taxis,
people
water
rent it.
taxi.
Thank you.
I have a plan. I have a design for that I
Okay.
pitched
Yeah.
before.
Well,
Yeah,
the government has the power to take some of the property away from the people who get a house over there, move them to places and pay them eminent domain and put
but
a
most
water.
of the swarm property anyway
Yeah.
are not deeded in Liberia. Those
Okay.
those those
Hmm.
land close to the water does not
Yeah.
have a
Okay.
owner per
Yeah.
se. So the
Yeah.
opportunity is there.
Yeah. In addition to that, Cyrus, that that swamp over there, you know, that swamp over there, it's it's under international conservation because it has some species there, rare species in there that are going extinct. The 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 Nile alligator, the African dwarf alligator, certain bird species, certain tree species, and all of that. So under the Star agreement, Liberia gets certain amount of money every year to preserve that.
Maybe that's why they leave it like that as a natural habitat, except for the toilet that coming from
Yeah,
Concord.
but if you leave it like that, then you're not even maxing the stuff because here's what you can do. There's a reason why the animal, I think, why we're preserving them, right? So they can live, so people can go and see them. Again, that's tourism, correct? So you dredge that place and you build places where people get on boats or other thing and go and see the animal there and Sunday and take pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
That's an animal reserve. Well, that's just no difference, you know. So that's exact. So you talk about tourism. Of course, the Batawi. Of course, there's the Sapo National Park, and of course, Cape Mount. You know, the rubber sport place there. All of those things. Yes, tourism is a great source of revenue, but it's a opportunity missed in Liberia.
Our current president was in a good position to enhance
Yeah,
that kind of.
as an entertainer, he can bring
Yeah.
other people in here, and the people can be performing on stage. When we were kids, I remember we used to go to that place, at the New Bridge, right? Providence Island. There used
Hmm.
to be performances going on there and all of those things.
Yep.
I don't know if anything's happening there anymore,
Yeah.
but that's
I,
an
s-
historic place.
I
Yeah.
see. Let me share this so we get some
Mm,
pictorial of what you're talking about, that Bali Island. If I can pull this up.
mm,
Here you go. So check this out.
mhm. Yeah.
This entire mangrove swamp in the
Yep.
middle of the city here
Of the
is,
city. Of the
yeah,
city.
it's just there, just as
Mhm.
God put it there. It's there. It has not
Again, it's
it has not,
unexplored.
it has
Yeah.
not changed a bit. Yeah, we just try and take the keke and go around it, but we don't we don't, we don't even try to explore it. Yeah, the Maserado River
Yep.
going around here on one side, the Do River.
Yep.
In fact, the river changed name. This stuff is elaborate. It goes all the
It
way
is.
across too. You know.
And that river we're talking about, that Dresser River, it will take you all the way to Congoton, to Painesville, to Marshall.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
will
This is
even
Springs.
reduce traffic congestion all the way going to that place.
Yeah, this is
Right?
Springs Fee right here. This is
Mhm. Yeah.
Springs. So you see, if you follow it, it will take you all the way onto Peace Island.
Hmm.
Look, this area guy inhabited by people in the war,
Yeah.
football community, Oro. That water is just right on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brings you all the way to 72nd here, SKD Boulevard here. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. All
and
the way.
yeah,
All right. All the way.
we are
And
we
the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey manages all of those places from New Jersey to New York. The Port Authority of Pennsylvania and Delaware manages all of these places and all of those things. Where is the
wow.
Port Authority of Liberia to just dredge that little river over there and put something in it and make business and bring revenue? Your only revenue should not just be we tax containers, we do this, we do that. No, that's what I believe Mr. Gomez was talking about. We're talking about you got to grow the economy. There's a lot of opportunities to grow the economy and to hire people. And it's sad that our people are not thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this out of the way. I think that's a good job. I kind of stuck. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So we were looking at growing the economy. Okay, let's see if we can get him back to the main screen. As if come back.
Wow.
I've been backstage for a while. I've been
You've been backstage for a while.
for a while.
Well,
Yeah.
sorry about that. We got you now. We're discussing this area about hard lines. Is there anything you want to add to it before we flip to another?
Well, that's one of the most important things from the community.
Your audio is a little low, Isaac.
Really? Let me put the phone right in front of me. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you clear now.
Yeah. Engaging hearts and minds is really critical for Mr. Cummings because there are many mindset changes that need to happen. And that responsibility, it starts with leadership. And one of the key ones is making people feel they belong. A lot of people, and we know historically we have been excluded from so many aspects of life in Liberia, whether it's from the financial side, whether it's from the empowerment side, whether it's from jobs, whether it's from the social mobility. It's just there that people don't feel like they are part of anything. So until they can have that hope, that belief, that conviction that they are part of this thing, and like he has on there those different spokes that we kind of involve them. We actually have a couple of different artifacts now that tries to illustrate those by communities and by grouping of people and by categories. I can send one to you that you can put up if possible.
Yeah, tell me how you're going to send it.
Huh?
Just tell me how you're going to send it. I'll pull it and put it up.
Yeah, I can send it. So you can.
Is there a way for you to share it from where you are?
I could share. I can try and see whether it will allow me to do it.
Yeah, try. If it doesn't, then you can send it to me while we discuss. I will try to pull it up.
So,
I mean, while you're thinking about it, it would be interesting to tell us how Mr. Cummings is from a methodological standpoint. How is he going to address these points I've raised? Arts, hearts and mind through arts, sports.
Okay. So
I mean, for example, will you reintroduce the high school soccer league or what something like that? Something that we can really practically measure.
Grassroots sports program and the functioning of these programs. Take for example, our basketball. In 2019, basically the basketball in Liberia has been kind of handicapped with the issue with leadership and all of that stuff in the Liberian Basketball Association. So being able to directly intervene in stuff like that, and get parties that are, kind of restricting. I think I can share on my screen.
We've been watching President We are playing football.
Yeah, but again, is that how should I say?
Okay.
Is about it being about we are rather than being about the people of Liberia, right? Is this play as opposed to it being something that's programmatic and organized in a way that a significant number of Liberians can benefit. So, we're not about we are crashing the county meet basketball or stuff like that. We're talking about what is the Liberian Basketball Association doing for kids 5 to 10. Look, right now, ranked number 2 in the United States of America is a young Liberian called Trey Clemens. He's in the class, I think he's in the class of 2032. So he's about 9-10 years old right now.
In basketball?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I can send you the flyer from the people. I posted it on my page. I actually posted it on my page. So we got young, talented Liberians here and those in Liberia are being deprived of the opportunity, to keep up with the peers across the world. Look, naturally, I believe we are very talented people. I think many of our people are gifted with fast twitch muscles, and those are the muscles that athletes really use and need, to do what they have to do to give them that burst, that energy. But we don't have the opportunity, and the Liberians here, some of them are engaged. There are a couple of young women who are into track and doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to us on that ground. As small as our country is, we have a huge opportunity athletically to be able to do, things
And
across.
Isaac, some of those sports do not even require a huge capital expansion. For example, track and
They need planning, they need programming. Look, the opportunity, President, we have had is just so incredible that the way it was wasted and the way our people have turned against him is a sad testament to show that if you don't care for the people, you don't put them first, most time you're a loser. Okay? Look, is one of the greatest soccer player ever, right? In nearly every state year, they probably got like maybe 200-300 youth soccer programs. If we had come in a programmatic fashion and talk to the US and soccer, right? And say, look, I want you to adapt our stuff, our country. Every youth program, when they use material will be new material to us. You're like, set up a program where we can be.
Look at the optic. The man has his son in the program. Do you imagine the kind of goodwill that could come from that? We're talking about leveraging.
I'm talking about himself first before I get to his son. I'm talking about himself.
No,
first.
I mean I'm talking about his son doing it, but the fact that his son is inside the American program, give him leverage to talk to the right people about those. They will be anxious to help.
And look, take for example, why a small country like Liberia must have Alfonso Davis in Canada?
Can you imagine?
Must have Tim Weah in the US. Okay, there's another the other picking that in that comes from Sierra Leone and playing somewhere. No, not Sierra Leone. I think Ivory Coast. Who right now his mom in Liberia crying, say that her son, and there's a whole issue.
He plays for Barcelona, I think.
Okay. So, and there are some other up and coming soccer players around the world who are Liberians. Okay? And we're not even making the effort.
So I think it's knowledge, man. I think it's just knowledge. I think Josh Weah didn't just have the exposure.
So even if Tim Weah wanted to say, I would take the responsibility to be an ambassador for Liberian football. Yeah, I'm choose our national team. My better opportunity, and that I can wonder with some people, they're crazy that team we are not supposed to play for the US national team and blah blah blah, all that kind of thing. No, they begin in his own right. What he's doing, his skills are there. Yes, somebody is inherited, but he had to do the work. His mom had to take him to camps, take him to practice, and he was like his coach. So you got to give them the credit for those things. But how can he leverage it now? He can take.
So, Ava, let me ask you a question. Sorry if I'm interrupting you. I just wanted to ask a question so you can add to your response. So, all of this thing you're talking about, what exactly is the value that you're talking about? Are you talking about them getting equipment or resources to take to Liberia? What is the outcome that you are trying to project here?
The outcome is okay. So, let's say my son was in a soccer program himself, but he preferred to go run track and play basketball. But in the soccer program, they probably got like in any one team, they probably got kids 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like different age groups, right? All of them, every year, there's stuff small for them. And they will not go give to the other friend the next year. No, their parents buy a new one. So if you set up a program where we can get all that material for our kids and have youth programs in every district, even maybe even in every town. We got 5,000, let's say we got 5,000 villages of towns, subdivisions in Liberia. You can easily find 10,000 other programs that you can get stuff from.
You're talking about the material, but you got to design the program, the concept in Liberia.
Exactly. So you think the problem in Liberia is a lack of materials?
No, it's the lack of vision, it's the lack of programming, it's the lack of implementation, and the lack of networking. So those 4 things are the key factors. Okay, if you already have a plan, and you say we want to do soccer academies across the country, and it would take X, Y, Z to do them. We need this, we need that, we need that, and it don't have to be boarding academies. They can be home academy where people stay to the home, they come to practice that day. But just develop a program, develop leagues around it, develop a award system or ranking system for your players that people can come to, like in a couple of weeks. The Cummings Africa Foundation will be bringing some Danish coaches to do some clinics and look at potentially some players. If they see some talented Liberian players, they could ask them to come to go abroad and show their talent there and see if they can adjust, if they can elevate their game. And many Liberians have proven that they can do that. They can go into a different environment and elevate to the level of competition and flourish.
So there are no opportunities now. That's what you said.
You're not creating the opportunity, but to create that opportunity, you got to let the coaches come and see them. And though the people recruiting, but they don't just go everywhere. Somebody there got to tell and say, oh, they got this young athlete here. He's about 13 years old. He, 5'6", very powerful, describe his skills, X, Y, and then it will attract people. So we have that, and we got legacy that Liberians, starting with George Weah himself, going to Diba, going to Joe Nambo and other people who have played abroad, and people know them. So it's not that difficult to get people to believe that you can get talent out of Liberia.
So how do you, from the Cummings perspective, how do you plan to do this? Because what I hear you talking about is actually the interface between the player going to Europe or wherever. But how do you develop that player in the first place? How do you reach the guy in camp play so that over time he can be something that you want to show out to somebody?
That in anytime anybody who has campaign, you go, you got a youth, you got a women, you got the elders, then you probably got a town chief.
And part of me using camp play as an example. We from Nima they'll take Nima first.
No, but I'm gonna say you get so the youths there, most time what you want, we want football, one jersey, right? The guys then they want kickball jersey. That the primary need when you're campaigning for the youth. Some of the youth chair and leaders can speak for the town when they roll.
You need a playing page.
Yeah. Oh, you want press that era for our fee, level A, blah blah blah. So once you can, and what does it take really? There's so many things that's supposed to work in tandem, Cyrus. If you had, like we say, the road construction, they have machines across the country, 2-3 machines in each county, to do for the government to say every district has a government pitch, right? So you clear that lane, you flatten it for the children to start practicing. You don't want one field, you want an area where you got 3-4 fields, okay? Then you start your program, whether they're playing barefoot, whether they're playing with their socks or whatever. You start from there, right? Then when you start to visualize that program, you take it from there and say, look, we have a tournament, an annual tournament. Just imagine the county meet now and having like district meets that rise up to the county level where the best teams can come and go to a central place. They all there, like, in a camp playing against each other. It just, they're
super players, man. Their skill level will improve
big time for those kids. But at the same time, I did a whole plan for basketball development, similar with football development. Target, let's say we want to go to the Africa under 17 by this year, right? And it would take us, you walk backwards. It would take us to train these people who are 12 years old to get to that in that 5-year time frame. And we do this, we participate in the Manon Rural Union tournament, we participate in the West Africa tournament. So it's like you got to be goal setting, you got to be training people, you got to be training coaches, you got to be training referees, you got to be training, other officials, administrators. So it's a holistic programming effort that needs to happen for us to develop any kind of sport to a substantive level where we continually pour in our talent. And we are able to do that. But it takes commitment, it takes leadership, it takes you wanting the best for your people. And a lot of times we don't have that.
So if somebody like we are, who is a product of that industry, who you think is knowledgeable, if you could not get it done, do you think that Mr. Cummings can get it done?
I don't believe Mr. Weah had any desire to get it done. Mr. Weah played in France. Mr. Weah played in Italy. Mr. Weah played in the UAE, right? The Arab Emirates.
He also played in UK for
Okay,
Chelsea.
so yeah, yeah. So he played in four football countries, powerful football countries. Plus, his son plays in the US, and the people in the US know him. Look, look. I don't know how somebody with that level of potential can just see and waste it. Seriously, it's amazing to me. I don't know whether that laziness, that incompetence, that I don't give a damn for these Liberian people or what. But Liberia should be a football country already. Already, I mean, when I say football country, we're already a football country by our desire. Look how much the international game has crippled us. Most of our kids are watching them playing. You think if you had a good program with good dieting associated with good coaching, good physical training, we'll be up there, Cyrus, and it's doable. Okay, so that's on the sports side. On the art side, especially like the music, we have talented young people. They are even created their own brand of music. Okay, and we got Liberians who are actually producers in the US, who have produced Lady Gaga and other people. Somebody like what his name, Udo Great Jr. Okay, and we got some other people. We have Phillips before they got in Atlanta. Okay, and we got Liberians who know people. Somebody like Baku Tubman, she know people in the industry. Okay, so if we can set a way, especially when it comes to the intellectual property, it's not respected in Liberia. There's no copyright laws that are really enforced. No way for the entertainers to benefit or get the kind of exposure they want. So you want to give our performers the stage. You want to start, because African music now, the Afrobeats, they're trending big time. They have gone mainstream. So, but you'll be surprised white commercial coming on the African music playing behind it.
So let me ask you, if I may ask a question, that, and then you can continue.
Sure.
Is these people, Liberians who are producers who produce Lady Gaga, soccer players and basketball players in this country. Are you waiting until Mr. Cummings becomes president before you start implementing those programs? What, or are you doing anything now?
Cannot implement it. Look, non-profits can come to Liberia. Okay? And if they don't pay certain people, they don't allow them to function in the country.
So if you got Udo Great Jr., for example, to go to Liberia, I mean, Udo Great's from Liberia.
Right.
So Udo Great Jr. will not go to Liberia and recruit maybe a musician or a basketball player until he pays somebody?
I think you understand how people operate.
No, I don't. I really don't. I know Liberian kids who on their own are making their music and singing their songs. We can identify them and promote them without going through government. So I don't know how.
No, you can go through government, but again, for it to be institutional, you see, this Mr. Cummings' vision is for the country. You as an individual can really do this. Okay, the copyright rules. Okay, the like in the US here, they got community centers, they got all the entertainment places. Look, right now, Leo Johnson, or Liberian, he has taken what you're talking about, an initiative to build the Liberian Learning Center. Just got $300,000 extra to finish the first stage. I'm so proud of Leo. She sent me a picture today with him, showing like 20,000 bricks.
Where's the center in Liberia?
It's right near the Pinsville City Hall.
Okay, so Leo was not obstructed, was he? I mean, he got it built. He's doing it. That means that other people can do it, correct?
Challenges, but look, for government to work, government must work. The people who are responsible for these things must do them. They control the national coffers. They control the rules, the regulation, the implementation of laws. They control the bilateral relationships and stuff like that. Certain government can talk to you, even if you're an individual, you go to them. No, they need to talk government to government.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, talking to people, musicians, producers, is not government or government.
Maybe you're talking about skill. You're talking about doing it on a larger scale.
On a scale, yeah. No, I mean, what my question was, these are all brilliant ideas. On a larger scale, government to government, that's great. Even though we all know that when it comes to soccer and sports in general, it's not government to government. Actually, it's agency to agency because government doesn't really control these things. But
Government
my
control.
question is, so you don't, for example, you don't need to go to talk to State Department to talk to UNSMIT. That's the point I'm trying to make. But let's go beyond that. UNSMIT is the U.S. men's soccer team, but that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making is maybe can we start on the smallest? I mean, Leo did a fantastic job. 200,000. He's building that stuff, as you said.
No, that's
But you
already. So, but go ahead.
yeah, private sector. I'm assuming.
Mhm.
You do great, Junior, and somebody else, our producer. My question was, and then of course we have Fambule, who is a Liberian who's running 100-meter dash.
Right.
We have, Josh, Tim Weir, we have this other Liberian kid who, whatever, etc. Alfonso Davis in Canada. Can we, without waiting until we win election, begin to at least engage, even if it's at a smaller level?
Yes, people be engaging. I mean,
Okay.
people have been doing that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to disclose like some of the individuals that the guy have interacted with. No, but people are engaging. I'm just saying it's not to scale. It's not to benefit the republic. We're talking national efforts here. We're not talking about individual things. And take, for example, on the commercial side, right? Do you know even a man like Mr. Cummings is hesitant to tell people what businesses he has invested in Liberia so they can be undermined?
Has he invested in businesses in Liberia?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move to something else. The national service. What does that mean? What exactly is that?
So that's a national youth volunteer program. Where, because volunteerism is not in most of us as a culture. Nothing free, everything gotta be. So to build this cadre of young people that can volunteer and use that. Back in the day, I believe we had some kind of vacation job program. I don't know how coordinated it was because I wasn't at the organizing level, but I know there were consistent hiring of high school students across the country for vacation job. But the National Volunteer Service also, to get us to understand each other, right? You want them to volunteer not in their locality or their domicile area, but somewhere else, that we can have that cross interaction between people in the county for the youths, and it can be stratified just coming on because when you start the first time, you start with a certain group, and then it's a national program that goes across the country, can provide training, and it can provide opportunity. What we've been talking about, shovel-ready jobs, right? And opportunities for some of these young people. It can keep them engaged. It can have them learning, and it can even be career inspirational for them to decide which way they want to go when they get this kind of exposure in volunteering for the country. And it helps to also build that nationalistic commitment to Liberia to say, yes, Liberia, start to define what it means to be a Liberian, part of what they are talking about.
Okay, I say, Alfonso, if you don't mind, I know we just got Ava, so let's run him up a little bit, if you don't mind. I know we are at our 4 o'clock mark.
Yeah, well, full capacity, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so Ava, if you don't mind, we'll run another 30 minutes so that we can get your views on some of these things. But before we get there, I'd like us to listen to this Liberian artist. I think his song is the guy name is KZ Big Man, and his song has been around for a while.
Go, mama, tip me. You say why I was not getting. You love me in the trash.
It's called Your Pastor No. I don't know. You heard that before, Ava?
I heard about your man, no, but
I'm a hero. Go, mama, tip me. You say why I was not getting finished. I'm a hero like yourself. I can get finished. You get it finished.
Lucky boy.
I know you can pay your offering. We just do. Singing in the church choir. That one I choose. Go to church every Sunday. No more tea. Pastor around your hearting, but say that you. Hey. Your pastor know you love me in the church. Your pastor know you smoke kaka every night. Your pastor know you speak to your best friend. Your pastor know you can cast your boy. Once you get new clothes, you won't go to church. When there is no G's there, you won't even step for there. Saturday night, you on live cussing someone. Sunday morning in the church, acting the Holy Mary. But I hate fake people that can shut them up. What I told you, I can to the G's everywhere. One on a KZ, then you looking for someone who don't need. You can find no need, you looking for Lala everywhere. Hey, papi, I just in my kate kaki. Why they tell for kidding? I can very crazy. They won't say the truth is hiding all the dirty things. But pretty soon we will say it before the pastor know. Your pastor know you love it in the church. Your pastor know you smoke kaka every night. Your pastor know you speaking to your best friend. Your pastor know you can cast your boy.
Why you worry? Yummy, yummy, hello pleasure. What is I helping you? What tell me, Poppy? Or if I die, if I cry, I cry for you. If I born baby, I'm a one who take care of. If I eat problem, I'm a one who feel it. You go inside,
I know you can pay an offering, which is good. Sing in the church choir, that one I choose. Go to church every Sunday, that no more thing. Pastor all around your acting, but say the truth, hey. Your pastor know you love it in the church. Your pastor know you smoke kaka every night. Your pastor know you speaking to your best friend. Your pastor know you can help it for him.
Your pastor know palafona in the church. Small ball like you washing the other deacon web. I know if you know that beating papa and papa soup. All the better, they sort mine like you the cheap. Forgetting about make it your friend girl konosa, you the one that don't make it. You there? Bring me a favor or your boyfriend say. Boy, your pastor know you always sending me naked pay.
Your pastor know you love it in the church. Your pastor know you smoke kaka every night. Your pastor know you speaking to your best friend. Your pastor know you can cast it for him.
Your pastor know they get like a door. Your pastor know you calling him on a late night. Your pastor know you begging they get to take her better. I wanna your pastor know that you got the rule. Your pastor know you can do 3 songs. Your pastor know you all in a member DM. Your pastor know you could be all in a neighborhood. Your pastor know say the truth.
Let me tell you today, I struggle to get the mother. If anybody fasting the mother, if anybody fasting her, hey, go sit down, no.
Your pastor know you trendy stuff. You guys got a lot of talent, though.
They do. The problem is that, again, they don't have the support. And that's why, as we said before, arts developing Liberian arts is extremely important. They have a lot of raw talent that needs to be developed, but they also need a market.
Yeah, you know that we they it's getting better, but I think the way that we make our music is not targeting a global audience. So they don't get to sell the music at universally as the Nigerians and the Ghanaians will do.
Absolutely. And you're 100% correct. And then you were on the same page. So take that music, for example. I mean, it can be sold outside of Liberia. People don't even know what you're saying, those kinds of things. So the support to help them create lyrics, write songwriting. These kids write their own thing, or they just gather and just go and sing it. Here, they got people who just specialize in songwriting, who know how to write music, and they write it. And they also then there's the marketing side.
Yeah.
So the marketing people look at the appeal,
how to introduce it to the greater audience.
Yes. But even in the production process, they're still thinking about marketing. What kind of music, what kind of lyrics, what are the songs to be that will sell, and where will it sell? That's all critical and important. And anybody who has an arts program and can really develop it will definitely be of great help. I agree.
Okay, the pastor know.
But the pastor know, I gotta tell you, can drive people away. I don't know they will
It's
even buy a
it's
visa.
a it's a it's in the Liberians Liberians are caught in their own space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it comes with exposure and understanding what's out there and what's needed out there, right? It, look, just like with everything, we need to create a market outside. We need to export our talents. We need to export our food. We need to do all those things, but it takes work, and that's why a place like LPMC is probably something that Mr. Cummings really wants to look at to see if he can bring back, especially on the agriculture side. So if we had, part of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and he wants to add entrepreneurship to it, right? And under that, with for music, with for dancing, with for sports to some extent. How can we market and bring revenue generation to some of these things we are doing that can be beneficial to the artists, the athletes themselves, and to the country. So it's again, it's about work. It's not free. It doesn't just happen automatically. It didn't happen automatically for other countries. It would not happen.
Okay, so I see.
One of the areas, sorry,
Okay.
real quickly. One of the areas I'm really interested in, and you did mention that, is voluntarism. So youth corps in Liberia.
Yeah.
That would be great if it were put into place. And government can really do a lot of work in terms of that.
Yes, he's really.
But question here is one: does the Cummings campaign currently have any youth volunteer program? Because there's a great need. For example, to just go around pick up trash once a week at least, in targeting one community, etc. Blah blah blah. Then the other thing is that there are other programs such as the YMCA and other things. Is the Cummings campaign looking at those existing programs and working with them?
So some of those organizations you talk about, they are NGOs and nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really try to reach out to them, in a political way. But the Cummings Africa Foundation, I believe, tries to reach out to different institutions and different organizations. They've done cleanups before and stuff like that. The youths are volunteering right now to go out in a group. There's a group called Cummings Intellectual and Mobilization Team. They are out there, they are mobilizing, they are going to communities, spreading Mr. Cummings' vision. That's their contributions. We work with a group called the Liberian, the First Time Voters Association of Liberia. They were out there just talking to young people. They're not committed to any political party. So there's just so many opportunities for volunteerism in Liberia for our people, to help and be a part of uplifting the fabric of society. But there's some level of support too. You look at what the legislature, what some of these smaller organizations that help build the fabric of society to be getting, and there's no funding going to them, no assistance. But a hospital by Jeremiah Kuhn or by somebody else will get X amount of funding, as opposed to other locations or other areas. So and that's what Mr. Cummings is going to try to reprioritize. Not try, he'll reprioritize the budget and how we spend is critical to us moving away from just recurrent expenditures covering the bulk of our budget and being able to expand into more services, being able to expand into more infrastructure stuff with our own money and not having to go beg people all the time.
What are the we got a bullet on expanding education. When you say expanding education, what are the needs assessment that have been done that require expanding education?
Well, we have had so many assessments done, whether it's from mess to best, when Madam Celine then did their studies. Have some of those documents. I can give the name all of them, but a significant portion of our education system has been analyzed.
What are the general? What I'm really getting at? What are the general conclusion? Is it that we do not have enough schools, we do not have enough teachers, or
all of a complete mess, Cyrus. We don't have qualified teachers. Unfortunately, with the war, so many people who learn, they never saw so many things in book. And that's why you see them and teaching, they say garbage in, garbage out, right? So the stuff they're teaching to a lot of young people right now is just incorrect. You know, many of them are not certified at the level they are teaching. Then you go into some counties, some schools, that one teacher who doesn't even come to school every day.
He teach all classes.
Yes. Okay. Then even in Morovia, that because of the, again, teachers are not paid right or whatever reason, some of the reasons they have, you got one person teaching to 3 different schools. Tell me.
Alfonso, you got a point. I mean, I've traveled around the country in the 2001, 2002. You go to a school, you got one teacher, and in that class, you got every grade in that class.
Yes. No, I totally agree. That math teacher is also
and firing.
History teacher, and he going. He even get break.
How do you address that? Because that's a fundamental issue where you got mass amount of schools where, for example, you go in the village, you got one teacher there, so everybody in the same class, whether their age variances or whether they are different levels. How a town hall meeting. I mean, how do they evaluate to determine who moving from which level to another? At what point in time that person? Yeah.
Everybody.
Do your hand like that. They determine that.
So how you guys how are you thinking about addressing this?
Well, the first thing is teachers training. That's one of the first things under Mr. Cummings that needs to happen. Then standardization. Okay, you got to train the teachers, and it's easier to bring one trainer, to teach 50 people than to send 50 people somewhere. So we got to bring in trainers to train our teachers. Okay, we got to qualify them the right way, and we got to make
Do we have a trainer deficit? Because we have a lot of teacher training schools. We have the CRTDI, Weber teacher training. Is the problem with teachers, as you identified, limited teachers? Is the problem that we don't have people to train them, or maybe we're not investing in those training institutions, or we're not paying them right? Like, do we have to bring people to train to run our teacher training?
Maybe let me add to that question. Avanzo, do you have access to a Ministry of Education report on the state of the education in Liberia relative to teacher, relative to school infrastructure, school administration, and stuff like that?
Yes, some of those reports are out there, but I think the Ministry of Education is the best source of data in terms of what they provide. They used to have the EMIS, the Education Management Information System. We don't get the same level of data and information from them. So a lot of stuff is based on those analysis that we talked about before, those assessments and other stuff. This is what the education team have used to come up with different positions that that makes sense for the key things that Mr. Cummings wants to do with regards to teacher training, being able to increase teacher salaries, which is very important. That's why you see someone that got 3-4 jobs, or someone that not even working in certain areas at all, but going to do other things. Enhancing the capabilities at the Teacher Training Institute, that they are producing people who can get through the teacher certification, teach at the level. And then you raise the other issue of overage children in school. We got to find some other accelerated program, for some of these kids. You don't want your 5-year-old or 6-year-old in class with a 14-year-old. That's potential for problem in terms of harassment or other kinds of things, and just the learning level, the physical levels are just not. I have a friend today who still complains the fact that he was in high school and couldn't play basketball because there were kids 20 and 21 years old playing high school basketball while he was only 14, 15, 16. So that age difference at those levels is significant. You 14-year-old and somebody 18, 19-year-old, they like a man to you and you like a child to them at 13, 14. So that adjustment has to be made. We got to create a separate track for these overage students to reduce it. We got to make sure that our 5-year-old are in school at 5-year-old. That's another thing. Look, the $35 or $3,500 Liberian in some places, not even $35, $3,500 Liberian. What the children got to pay in the lower levels to get registered or stuff like that. Many parents don't have it for their kids. So it's a tough. Education at that level has to be free, and we got to make it free, and we got to cut off, some of the unnecessary expenses that people at the legislature and other ministries have. We got to centralize some things, like some of the common services, whether it's communication, whether it's photocopy, whether it's internet service, whether it's how they pay the water and the electricity, and just be able to ensure that it's just not everything at eating speed. And that's what's happening. These people just got the duplication in the budget. They got the things all kind of and centralized in a way that, everybody got to be getting money, when if they actually, congregate some of these things, it could be so much cheaper for government in terms of the service. So those are some of the things that have to happen in the education sector. We understand, we see it physically on how our kids are doing on these exams. Okay.
Well, Mr. Cummings pay for the wires fees and continue free education at the university level?
At this stage, he can take that back from the people. But at the same time, some of the fees that were benefiting the university themselves. And that's what causing some of the problem. You take away some of the stuff from the people. So it's about finding creative means to ensure those other aspects of, primary, actually early childhood education, which is extremely the foundation, the basis of learning for our people, to make sure that children can actually get on and be competitive with other children all in the world. You listen to a 5-6-year-old Liberian child versus, 5-6-year-old from other countries, it's like night and day, in terms of the content of their discussion.
So you will place focus on early childhood and primary education. So that's good. So will you also again continue free university education and then pay YS fees as Judge Weah is currently doing?
Like I just said, you can't take away the stuff that you have already.
So you will, okay.
Yeah, you can take that, about really re-prioritizing the budget to ensure that these things are payable. These the government can even give us serious the outturn, the budget, the expenditure report. Right now, I believe the legislature is crying for them to produce an expenditure report. Even though they didn't say they're stealing money too, but at least they're trying to stand for something.
They're stealing money.
Yeah, they're stealing. Will you pay the job those people doing? Will you pay them $15,000 whatever they're making a year? Month rather. No. I brought that. Plus the additional stuff they do, pad budgeting at different ministry and agencies to get a kickback. That's crazy. And those things, those ministry and agencies not even functioning properly. So we're in a bind until we can get a leader who's really clear on protecting the best interests of the Liberian people. These kind of things will continue.
So let's go to healthcare. What are the concerns that your camp has about healthcare, and how do you intend to mitigate it? Again, just like education, for you to begin to even suggest any mitigation, you first got to get a sense of what the situation is currently. And I know we speak with generalization about Liberia. Oh, no good healthcare, no good healthcare. Well, that's saying exactly what that means. Because Fanny Sherman, for example, when he had his stroke, the young doctors stabilizing at JFK caught his top of his skull, took off fluid before they flew him out of the country, and he ended up surviving.
Right. So we do have some good doctors. Do we have enough? No. Do we have enough nurses? No. Are all of them professional and competent? No. So it's about them living up to their own oath, you know. At the same time, the service that they provide has to be better. We know based on the numbers, the doctors are not adequate for the population. Okay, and the way we prioritize healthcare, it needs to be revisited. Look at the new hospital in Papulu. What's there? What's the real rationale for building that hospital over there?
Well, they had a hospital there already. They are Jalalong Hospital, which is a government hospital, is there.
And we're at that hospital. I think there's a doctor there who's managing that hospital. He's really good, really trying to do his best in Papulu over there. But is he getting the support? Look, the budget last year, you know what the U.S. ambassador went to visit those different places and talk about? It was valid. In the budget, they had nearly 18 million for these different healthcare facilities. But itself, that 18 million is not enough, right? We know we get subsidy from the Global Health Fund or whatever that call is, where the people were stealing money from and going to forced meetings and all kind of stupid stuff when they were all there.
USAID, FARA.
You have a lot of exposure on the healthcare side. The drugs that we get, they take it to the private their own clinics and stuff like that. So the linkage.
I didn't say that though.
No, I didn't. Don't run away from it.
I want to make a disclaimer.
I'm saying it. I say you probably know of it. I didn't say you said anything. Okay, so I'm saying it, right? If they want to argue, let us audit. Let them do an open audit of all these different facilities. Let's see what happens. Okay, they got these warehouses. What is the warehouse management and process? How effective are they to getting drugs to Labrimpo? All the time, Labrimpo are crying for drugs. They're getting the free drugs and someone taking it and selling it back to the people. It's sickening, Sarah. It's sickening. Would they change our healthcare system when people say,
what does healthcare as a right mean? Healthcare as a right. So it's a right to.
It's the ANC believes healthcare in Liberia should be a right.
A right. What does that mean?
Just how it's not a privilege. Our country is responsible for healthy citizens. You collect all the revenue for the country. You are responsible to ensure that all necessary inoculations for your young population are received. They're not just dying unnecessarily. You are responsible for public health. Public health is okay. So it's a right for people to have access to health care.
So do I get care anywhere in the country, especially at a public hospital, of course, not a private one or clinic? Even if I can pay, I don't have a penny to pay, I get the care I need. Is that what it means?
That what it means.
Are you talking about universal health care for everybody without cost, especially for people who can't afford?
Some costs attached to certain services and stuff. You can't just blanket say free universal health care coverage. Where it's possible, it will be free because these things, they are costly, okay? But we are being subsidized. Unfortunately, we can't get all those numbers for you to effectively calculate what the real load is and what you need to do to make that difference. But just based on the population and how they are engaged and the issues that our people are facing from a healthcare perspective, is not adequate. You go to some of the facilities themselves, basically nothing's there. The people said it to the minister, to the ambassador, okay? And like I said, we compare. You say the person budget, you put it in the national budget is 200,000. Then you send in 50,000 or 30,000.
That's terrible. That's wrong. The point though is you're promising healthcare as a right. A right means it's not pegged to ability to pay. That's my question. So whether I can pay or not, I should be able to get the healthcare that I need. And that was my question. yes,
Right.
this government is doing horribly. We all agree. But when you say healthcare as a right, do you mean that everybody will be entitled to free healthcare, especially people who can't afford?
Answer that question. Why you being redundant, Chief?
No, I didn't hear you answer it. You went to what the
No,
hospitals will have.
I said not every service is just
Okay.
free.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you know of any services that wouldn't be free?
No, I'm not a medical personnel who can't give you specific services that will be costly, but just certain services we can say yes, healthcare is a right you have access, and that access that primary right to at least the basic primary care, and that's not the
Okay. So you just said basic primary care will be free, advanced care you will pay, correct?
most advanced
Most
care.
likely. Okay.
So, Ava, the fact of the matter is that in the public facility in Liberia, which is close to anywhere between 800 and 1,000, people do not pay for medicines that are donated, and most of the medicine category are donated.
Right.
That's the current situation.
They're there. Every day people complain about empty, no medication. They get a prescription to go to the pharmacy that they probably own right around the corner from the medical facility. That's something standard, Cyrus.
Then malpractice by the whomever is dispensing the medicine in a one far away place that is not being monitored, evaluated. So the real issue is about how do you ensure that these donated medicines are actually reaching the people who it was intended for?
And that's part of how you break that syndicate, because I believe it's a syndicate. I don't believe it's just one or two isolated system. People in the system doing their own stuff. It's too widespread for it to be just isolated. So it's something that's going on that needs to be broken, that needs to be looked at, and it would take a fresh look, different individuals looking at that system and analyzing it and being able to honestly, and that's one of the biggest things, the MPH merit, the pragmatism and honesty that we need in our system, that hopefully somebody like a leader like Mr. Cummings can bring into the system. But it has to be where there is management, there is monitoring and evaluation, there is, assessment as standards in it for us to enforce what people are supposed to do and doing it at the time they are supposed to do it. And those are just things that are required that, for the most part, are absent right now from our healthcare, our education, stuff. No standards for a lot of things. And
Our care delivery, especially for maternal newborn, and is heavily dependent on humanitarian or donor assistance. Is that something that the Cummings administration want to continue?
In general, the Cummings administration, wants for us to Liberianize most things in terms of our own self-taking responsibility. But to take that responsibility requires an extension of the economic pie. It requires expansion of the economy, that private sector focus that we're talking about, that there can be more money generated, that us being able to create some value addition to what we have naturally, to be able to have greater value for our exports. So all the thing is all interdependent, and it's not like you can just look at one side and be able to have a developed country or really move the power if other that action, that interdependency that exists among all these things, and why you have this rather vacuum or through some narrow lenses, what needs to happen for our country.
Is that while you were away, we're discussing some of these visions that come from Mr. Cummings' website? Is there anything on those, any of them that you would like to elaborate on?
Well, I think they are clear. If you guys discussing it, I don't think there's any, something that's too difficult to understand. But if you guys got questions about it, but definitely, the focus is the economy and jobs, the infrastructure to facilitate those things.
So there's a question in the chat. that says, how can we generate revenue to help provide affordable health care or free primary education? So you talk about free primary education or education as a
So
right.
free primary care.
Free primary care is our care, exactly, in healthcare. Sorry, that's why they got wrote. How you gonna, where you gonna get the money to do that?
Well, the multiple.
That's what a listener is asking. Yeah.
Yeah, the multiple ways. The first thing is stopping the leakages. There are just so many ways people are stealing in our country today. That's one. Two,
Give me
uncovering
an example of the leakages.
the leak. Oh, for example, I mean, look at our budget. We can't even get an expenditure report that can be audited, right? And we see money that's supposed to be
Oh,
healthcare folks.
Yeah. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Hello?
Talking about the budget, the money you're talking about was allotted already. So how is it a leakage?
Oh, because it's not going for the purpose used. It's been stolen. Where is it going to? If you say 200, you okay. Let's look at this year budget, where the guy will already have a $23 million shortfall, right? When a few minutes ago, the president just signed a budget officially, so he didn't know he was signing that budget. There was $23 million shortfall. All right. So where is the shortfall coming from? Okay, most likely they can't generate the revenue, and why? So all those factors, Cyrus, they kind of shortchange the Liberian people. And where have they used the money? They have already, we have gone half year already into the budget. Where is the report? Have you seen any report over the last 6 months? Quarterly reports. That's the first quarter. Expenditure report. Now, for 20...
In fact, the legislature, I think, a few days ago, said they will not look at the budget until the performance reports are forthcoming.
Yeah, but what were they giving us, signing, approving a $65 million loan? On what ground? On what basis?
They did approve that anyway.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
On what
So
basis?
you're going to generate new revenue. You're going to expand the economy and generate new revenue for free primary healthcare. Is that what it is?
Well, the revenue not only for healthcare, the revenue is
no. I'm sorry if I limited you to healthcare, but the question in the chat was, how will you generate revenue to help provide affordable healthcare or free primary care? That's what the listener asked, and that was my question to you.
Okay, so again, it's about one, start, right? Two, uncovering other areas of revenue that not being visible to the Liberian people right now. Three, there's a lot of like $300 million worth of exemptions and waivers on taxes right now today. Okay, if we even cut that by half, the lawmakers, then what they get, like 2 containers or 1 container every year, all of them, and probably get more, plus a non-profit that getting it. So making sure that if a non-profit is importing something for non-profit purposes, it is used for that. So the oversight of that NGO sector has to be there to cut down some of those waivers as well, to make sure that with the thing they get tax exemption for are being used properly. Okay? Yeah. Then there are other, streams of revenue that we can afford for the country to have to increase our tax base. Whether it's okay. But right now, most of the houses around the country are not paying the taxes. Most of the land not paying the taxes. And we don't even have a good cadastral system, one that records all property and ownership, the size, the value, all of that. It doesn't. So some of those things have to change. Do you know today the assessment on a house is more about what you paid the house for 50 years ago than opposed to what the value is today? Because we don't have a system. So there's significant opportunities for government to generate revenue in so many different ways that we're not even looking at today. Okay? And then other areas we talk about today, we have, a significant carbon sink here that can be used the right way to generate revenue for our country as opposed to some of the other things we're not doing. Then when we talk about the leakages, we look at the mining sector. Look at how much illegal mining is going on that is being kind of facilitated by government. Then you look at the fact that they're exporting all this iron ore. There are certain other minerals around anywhere you got iron ore. We're not accounting for those minerals. There are people exporting bauxite from Liberia today that the LRA and the mines and energy not even, really in tandem about what the quantity is that go out of the country and what the tax that should be, applied on the bauxite going out of the country. So it's about really, really, looking at concession management too.
You were talking about capturing taxes for real estate and land, and you said that more than likely the data does not exist today to attach any person to every real estate. So I mean, I hear the announcements in Liberia on the radio that come and pay your property tax, as though it's relying on the person to act in good faith. If he has a house somewhere in the forest of Sapo forest, he come and say, "Oh, I got one house over there. It's 10 square foot," and then he pays, right? So what can we do to change that? For one of the things that we do not have in Liberia is a clear demarcation of mailing addresses and all that. Is that something you guys are thinking on?
I mean, yes, there's there are geospatial applications to get this whole address system, and definitely an identification system. We got a national identity registry. We don't even know who Liberian, who not Liberian. We don't know how many we really are. Look at the botch census we just had. Look at NEC. NEC should not be in the business of biometrics. It's the National Identification Registry. So you want to tell me that whole different money we got to come bring to NIR now to do what NEC just did? Or would they be able to give the data from NEC to the NIR for them to be able to use? Because that what? 2.7 million people they did biometrics for. Are those biometrics adequate for the National Identification Registry to do? So those are the kind of...
where I hear you asking this question. So if Mr. Cummings were to win in January, is that what he's going to do about that? About those concerns you have?
Saying identification is a focus. Land ownership, determination is a focus. Those are things that need to happen for any country to function properly.
So basically, what I hear you doing is land taxes. You said people have land and I'm paying taxes. People have homes and I'm paying taxes around the country. And then property evaluations are not right. So Mr. Cummings, when he wins, will go around Liberia, including Income Play and those other villages, mark the people houses and make them pay taxes for their houses to evaluate.
Correct.
Send evaluators and make them pay taxes for their huts. Is that what you're saying?
Now you're doing better.
Yeah.
Mr. Cummings get and go around Liberia. No.
Okay.
We build a system that you would have the opportunity.
Oh, I didn't mean Mr. Cummings himself. I thought you understood that. I mean, when Mr. Cummings, when he's elected, the president doesn't do that. The agency works on a hint. So I'm sorry if I said Mr. Cummings and I missed. And that confused you. I meant the government under Cummings, yeah.
We are very literal sometimes. We're not nuanced. So
okay.
Oh, Mr. Cummings go over there today to go mark the people's house,
No. Anybody thinks that, then yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. The government under Mr. Cummings.
Yes. It's better to do those things. Because look, to function as a society, you need that there's simple, not simple, but some basic things that need to be in place that we can build on foundationally to move the country forward. Of humans is very critical. Identification of, as able to find the right measures for those properties essential. That is a whole untapped industry right there that's waiting to happen.
I'm a market woman who's selling the market. Sorry, go ahead.
They are. Yeah, the men have dinner today. They're getting ready.
My man, don't even say that. I've been here since 2 o'clock waiting for you. You came after 5. Now I'm accommodating you by being here up to 6 p.m. I got I'm bypassing my dinner to be here so I chew on peanuts. Don't complain.
So somebody asked a question. I think Clarence Davis, he said, is it possible to revisit all the mining and mineral deposits contracts already signed by this government if a new government comes in next year? Let me add to that question. I was trying to rephrase it. So there are concerns, some justified, some may not be, that we probably didn't get a good shake for some of the concession agreements we signed. APMT, for example. So how is the Cummings-led government going to approach this without violating the terms of contracts that government has already signed?
Okay, and to add, Clarence just put another caveat in the main added. He said, can those contracts be legally voided and re-signed?
Well, okay, so there are a couple of different categories in there, right? There are some contracts where the concessionaires have failed already. They have violated those contracts. And we have people who can look at those contracts, they can determine which of the contracts can be nullified, okay? Because there's a certain amount of time in some concession contracts where you're supposed to actually be up to level of functionality. You should have a certain number of staff, you should have created a certain number of jobs, you have done certain corporate social responsibility activities already. Sometimes some of those things are being violated, you know? Look at the situation with, what do you call it? What are the people who taking the iron ore from bombing right now?
Cluster.
What, El Nito?
Right, El Nito. Yeah. Didn't they spend that contract and they were owing or supposed to pay 40 million and Edwin Snowden negotiated for them to pay 1 million or 2 million, whatever.
According to the terms of the contract, they were supposed to rehabilitate the railroad, not haul iron ore by road.
Exactly, because of the hazard, the environmental hazard related to that, and the impact on the road. Those roads were not built for those trucks to be on those roads with all that stuff.
Does the Cummings have the guts to get these people to build a railroad instead of trucking the iron?
That's the political will, and I believe Mr. Cummings has that. Okay, look, our country should not be where it is today, Sarah. You know that. You know that. I'm sure your co-host, I can see his name.
Alfonso. You can't see my name, man.
No.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah,
Alfonso, you know, yeah.
Don't be offended, Chief. I just
couldn't see your name. No, I can never be.
Yeah. So, the reality is there's a lot of stuff we're leaving on the table. Okay, even the employment of the different concessions for Liberians. Yeah. So I don't know whether it's the Bureau of Concessions that's will be doing all these things. Look at the other example that happened the other day. Oh man. I gotta find it because I had a communication with the head of that, Edwin Dennis. And I asked him where it was supposed to go to Metal and get some kind of report and stuff like that. And they were negligent on that. Delayed until it got out of the public eye. So up to today, I don't even know if that was ever finalized or not. So there's just so much in terms of oversight and regulation. Look at in Riverside, the amount of illegal mining that goes on. The Chinese people doing stuff in our forest that, you know, they just turn it back to. During Ellington, when I was running, I went over there, I videotaped it. If you go on my Facebook page, you can probably still find that video. Where those guys are using machines. And you know, most of our people are drinking water from the river that flowed in the areas. They're redirecting whole rivers and causing mud to go down to those people where the drinking water is like messed up. And some of the minerals from the stuff they're doing in there, you know, with the gold and other stuff is going to them. So it's like no control over our resources, just being able to exercise some control and have that will, like you implied, in terms of ensuring that these concession agreements are being, you know, executed at the level that's, you know, meets the requirement that's clearly stated in those agreements, would make a big difference for Liberia from a revenue perspective and from a jobs perspective. So those are things that need to happen, and it would take a leader who would be focused on performance management and knowing where the target should be and being able to, meet with his people to ensure that they're doing the job and have the guts that if they're not doing the job, you got to go. It's plain and simple.
The reason I'm asking some of these questions directly from these points on Mr. Cummings' page is that most of them, they're still generalizations, Alva.
Right. These
Yeah, I mean,
are
how do you, for example, APM terminal, we enter into an agreement where we committed ourselves to pay for the dredging of the port, which amounts to about $6 million every 2 years. Even though in the very agreement, APMT collects the money for marine services that is responsible for bringing the sediments, right? How do we fix that without appearing to be in violation of the agreement that we've already signed? To tell you how bad it is right now, because of that, the government is not able to raise the money to dredge. So APM goes ahead and dredge the port and subtracts it from our royalty with interest. So it literally continue to reduce the financial value that we should have for our port in favor of the concessionaires that we have. So how do we address that without violating the agreement that we signed? How be it that some of the
no,
things
but
we're smoking weed.
Sometimes you may say violating the agreement, but if the agreement was not done fair and in good spirits, yes, you can be able to cancel that agreement. You can make a case for it. So it's about reviewing some of those concession agreements and looking at them and seeing where we are. Now you can't fight everything, but there are some critical agreements that need to be redone, need to be revisited. Madam Salif did that during her time. She revisited some agreements. So it's not something impossible. It's just, again, about the will and the commitment of the leadership to do what's right for the people. So yes, some of the things. And then again, it's about who are negotiating those deals. Are Liberian experts doing it? Are consultants doing it? Are they in the best interest? And those are some of the things that have to be reviewed. So it's about getting this country right and fixing some of the messed up things that have been done before, to set things right, implementing systems that can help. And some of them you can be from the outside and not see, but you got to read in some of these ministry, in some of these concession contracts and everything for you to be able to, engage those concessionaires and be able to renegotiate terms with them, because some of them won't renew. You got to be strategic in how you approach it.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to push forward, or anything you want to cover that?
No, nothing. What I've heard is that Tuba is saying that they will. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying we are working on the policies behind each of the different platforms. We have policy groups working on them. So at a given time, they will be able to come on.
More details. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the point I was making. I was agreeing with you, Brother Gray, that a little more flesh needs to be added to the bone. And Tuba just said that they will add more flesh, because the how is very important. Because as I look at a lot of these plans, and I look at the platforms of other candidates for president, they're very similar. So I think what would differentiate them is
also, hold on. Where the other people platform? Put out one website with somebody else platform here. Let me see.
So for example, when I look at how to call it Boakai platform, and I look at Boakai species. Hold on, I'm coming. Let me hold on, brother.
No, put up his ecopay. Let's put it up together.
No, hold on. I'm not public relations person for Mr. Boakai. But I'm coming, brother.
No. I'm not going to accept that kind of excuse. You can't
Why
say.
Why wouldn't you accept? You wouldn't accept what I heard or said that's in the public domain? Because you haven't seen a website?
That talk. He has
okay. You think a website is not a talk? You think a website is not talk? Website is implementation? What is website? Is website implementation?
We're not talking about implementation.
What is talk? What's the difference between talk and implementation? and website. When Mr. Barker was in Banga 2 days ago, he said,
policy.
as because Bong is central, there will be convention centers, there will be tourism, Patawi will be developed. He talked about jobs, he talked about healthcare, they talk about all of these things. Making healthcare possible, developing agriculture sector, expanding economy are not novel ideas that are unique to you and the ANC. So you should understand that. That's the point I'm making. Almost every candidate, including George Weah, said these things before he was elected in 2017. We all know Liberia need roads. We all know Liberia need agriculture sector. We all know Liberia need improved healthcare sector. Everybody is saying it.
You can
the point here is the difference here is the how and the details. So my question to you, as Brother Gray said, is we will be interested in the details, and you say you will bring policy people to talk about the details. But don't come across here as if these ideas are unique to you. And
nobody said they're unique.
You said that. When I said other people have it, how are you going to implement? You jump right away and went into a tirade. That's what I'm saying.
A tirade. I was trying to get into the.
You didn't even allow me to talk. We've been talking at the same time throughout.
Alfonso, you segue into you not being a PR person, but you acting like a PR person right now. What you acting like?
What I'm saying to you, Brother Tukpa, is there's a lot of other candidates. Gonglo has said he will build road, he will improve education, he will review all the.
Wait, let me mentor you talk.
Yeah, thank you. He will review. He will review.
I got a 6 o'clock over that, so I told you.
Yeah, I do too. I actually should have left. Mr. Gray asked me to stay. That's why I'm here. Really should have left. You came late, by the way. But what I'm saying is, Gongo has said he will review all of the concession agreements. Boaka has said it. Who the other candidate has said it. They will review all of the concessions. They said they will improve healthcare. They said they will build roads. They said they will improve agriculture. They've said all of these same things you have on your website. Maybe you build website and they don't have website. Mine and our position here, which Cyrus asked you, is this is skeleton. What are the details? You said you will bring policy people to provide details. That's all I was speaking to. You're asking me to provide website for other people. That's the only way you accept that they said those things. Would they say those things as in the public space?
Man, you've been redundant. You repeat the same thing you just said.
Yes, but you didn't. I didn't even know if you heard it because you were talking at the same time we're talking. But go ahead, I'll give you a chance.
You sure? Okay. Anyway, Cyrus, it's 6 o'clock. It's 6 minutes to 6. I gotta get ready for my next meeting. We'll pick this up whenever you guys are ready.
So answer this one question: are you suggesting everything that the public need to know is on this website?
Sarah, what kind of funny question you asking, man? I'm disappointed you're not gonna.
I asked you a question because we have a listening. You guys just went back and forth just now.
Yeah,
it's everything on the website. Or you saying that the flesh will be added to be provided to the public?
Sarah, you're a sound person. I just said some details, and I said we are doing policy papers that are in the background. That when we are ready to release, then it'll be. Oh, then you ask me if everything. Yes, sir.
Okay, maybe I'm slow.
Yeah, that's.
But you think if somebody you think slow people too entitled to an answer?
Eh?
You think people who are slow too entitled to an answer from a political aspirant?
Slowness like you just did.
No,
it's not me. I'm just moderating the conversation. I'm talking because there are people who are listening.
No. Yeah, people are listening, but people didn't ask that. You asked it, even though
no. Somebody asked it. Somebody we looking. He looked in the chat. The question is in the chat, brother. Somebody asked it.
Put the question on the screen.
You want proof for that one too?
What are you talking about, guys? I'm sorry.
Okay, look, once more content.
Put the question on the screen.
One more content is developed. We'll continue this discussion. So we can have a lot more.
Then was here. We can be
a lot more details about that question in the screen. The question itself is a genuine question, Ava.
And it's in the chat. And the young man is still asking the website. Like he said, he went on the website and they're telling him the website is still ongoing and will be updated periodically. Is
So
that
there
true?
you go. The website is still ongoing and will be updated.
Is that true?
How does that relate? Where let him do a screenshot and show it.
Why does oh God.
My man, so you must just bring funny question on me and answer you think like how I am?
But you had the thing on the screen now.
No, that's what I'm saying. The person say they went to the website, it's still ongoing. When I go to a government library website that's not working, I take a screenshot and I post it. Let the man take a screenshot and post it. How hard is that?
Is your website complete?
Okay, that do us a favor. Give us the link to the website that people can go to and get the information.
You see, Cyrus.
Clarence Davis
is that not a fair request?
Clarence Davis says, quote, I am an ANC supporter. So the man who asking the question says he's an
I don't care what he is. It's not about whether he's a supporter or not. I don't fall into that trap that because somebody supporting me, then anything they say I accept it. No. That's
but
not
is your website complete or is it ongoing?
We got 3 minutes before you go.
That's complete. I don't know what you're talking about. You've been there. You don't act like you haven't been to the website.
Oh,
I've been to the website. What I'm saying is that asking questions that the website is not answering. So you're saying that
because a website will not provide you a full policy paper like that. It will not. You know that, Cyrus.
Okay, so the answer is that at some point we'll get those how answers. That's correct, right?
Redundant. We said that before. Why are you being redundant? I don't understand. Let me go back.
Okay.
Who is from Yegerba here? Clarence said y'all leave my Yegerba brother alone. Who from Yegerba?
I'm from Yegerba.
Oh, okay. I thought I took back from Yegerba.
Wow. So, gentlemen, it was great. We can discuss
it
this
was
further.
Great. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, we will. Good of you to come, man. I mean, I wish that Harris a little he wife even when he get on the phone. But look, as we get towards the elections, we have to fine tune these discussions so we can create more confidence in the people's decision to elect their leader. Yeah.
Question. I believe our manifesto should come out right before the campaign officially begins.
Campaign starts next month, right?
Yeah. So
what I heard is, Sarah, the people said they didn't want to put a platform up quick. Not ANC. A lot of other people, so other people can prepare for it, Steve for it. So they will wait.
That's a weak point. That's a weak point.
They made a PR man. Give me a super.
That's a weak point. We have to ask those hard questions and get answers.
We do. We certainly have to.
You can go to the website, alexanderbcummings.com, ALEXANDERBCUMMINGS.com, alexanderbcummings.com.
Okay, guys, if you want more information about what we're talking about, go to alexanderbcummings.com. We'll be inviting our policy people in the ANC. Eventually, Mr. Cummings want to leave the heavyweights to close to the election circle. And we'll be doing the same for the rest of the other people. We're expecting that we'll have a cross conversation with the Unity Party and ANC people today.
And just people ran away. They're not ready.
They defer it to next week. So
they sent a PR for Alfonso. They sent a PR for Alfonso.
So we hope that we can do that. But we were these things are not privileged. People seeking political office should avail themselves to the public so that people can ask them questions about how they plan to assume leadership and the management of the public resources.
And we hope that those who are slow, they will be patient with us and answer
our question too.
So,
yeah.
I'll talk to you later.
All right,
okay, Faisal, thanks a lot. Ava, thanks for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us today. We've had a long talkative section. Election Central today discussing some of the points, the 8 line of vision coming from Mr. Cummings' website. We're going to be still asking those hard questions, asking for more details. And the Liberian people are encouraged to ask their candidates the tough questions. How are they aspiring to lead them in a different way
Yes.
that improve their current station. I mean, we all have reached a consensus that things are not going very well in our country, and it is not for the lack of resources or the lack of goodwill, but for the lack of good, sound leadership and vision. So, this time around, I personally, and I know Afonso also, am encouraging Liberians to get off the fence. I
Yes.
say, hard question. Don't vote for somebody or because he's your friend or because he's been trying very hard before. Mr. Cummings has, this is the second time running for the presidency, and he's put himself out there. That he will solve Liberia's problems. So he too will be subject to scrutiny. So he makes his case to the Liberian people. And I urge also those who represent political parties and aspirants not to get offended when people ask them questions, because Abba was saying in the platform here that healthcare is a right. I'm not sure about that, but at least we have a right to inquire. That right, I know we have. Yeah. Okay. So thanks very much. If you don't have anything else to say, Afonso, I
No.
would just
Yeah,
wish
no, Cyrus, thank you. No, not much else to say. I think we cover all of the bases, and it's always good being on the platform, being with you, but also talking to our audience. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. You have a good rest of the new week.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot. We'll meet on the other side on
Yep.
next Sunday. You have a
Yeah,
good week.
definitely.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, brother. Bye bye.
Hear these words and have faith. He lives in you. He lives in me. He watches over everything we see. Into the water, into the truth. In your reflection, he lives in you. He lives in you. He lives in you. He lives in me. He watches over everything you see. Into the water, into the truth. In your reflection, he lives in you. He lives in you. He lives in you. Oh yeah. He lives in me. He watches over everything we see. Into the water, into the truth. In your reflection, he lives, he lives, he lives, he lives in you. And the spirit